Chapter 5570. Not cruel, but to show enough respect. It was also because he didn't want to watch Huiqing fight to death, and wanted to resolve the battle quickly. As long as he suppressed Huiqing, he could directly take away Jiangshang. Zhenlong's spear. Only I am the peerless warrior of the Temple of Forbidding. I am very glad that you can see him. A smile leaked from the corner of Long's mouth. Countless epochs have not really taken a shot, and at this moment his combat power has increased to 70%. Huiqing didn't speak, but stood firmly in front of Long Yi, without a trace of wavering. Above the ruins, under the gloomy sky, two superpowers are fighting against each other. The breath of this place has already shaken the entire human world secret realm. Although among the four great secret realms, the human world secret realm has the least sense of existence, but there are still a few superpowers, all at the edge of the ruins, watching this place. The strongest battle between heaven and earth. Although they couldn't face the battle directly, just feeling the two powerful breaths made them feel addicted. The aboriginal superpowers are yearning, but no one dared to step forward. At that level of battle, they didn't have the qualifications to watch it at close range. Do you know the identity of the other party? A supremely strong man with a folding fan in his hand looked at the middle-aged Yuluan white-crowned man. The bottom of my heart is very curious. Where does this kind of power come from? The strongest of the four secret realms is the Tomb of the Gods. The human world is the closest to the tombs of the gods, just below them. I have gone down there before and encountered many powerful special beings, but they don't feel that they are deep in the ruins too powerful. The middle-aged man called the Doormaster is the doormaster of the strongest force in the human world, Fengmanshan, and one of the oldest in the human world. He has a high status and knows a lot. The sect master shook his head. This time he really didn't know the details of the other party. Those two breaths were very peculiar, and they were likely to be inheritors, not the powerhouses of the four secret realms. He was fortunate enough to have seen this kind of tyrannical aura once. And that time the strong man who broke the robbery arm came, and that breath made the entire human world tremble. Later that mysterious strong man never appeared again. Feel it well. This level of battle may be the strongest decisive battle we have ever seen in this life. The master of the door closed his eyes like a torch. Although he could only feel two auras in the fight, he could barely see the figure, but he could feel that. The two breaths have been colliding, which is enough. A group of people stood outside the ruins, quietly watching. A storm has formed in the ruins. The center of the storm is Huiqing and Longyi. Then after the divine body, his strength skyrocketed. But Long Yi's strength also increased to 70%, which was still very difficult, coupled with the power of burning the divine body to transform. It was very unstable, and now the divine body had begun to fall. In addition to the divine body, there is also the origin, the desperately fighting Huiqing. Even the origin burned without scruple, causing the dragon's expression to change. No matter how much the divine body burns, even if the foundation is damaged, it can be repaired, but the origin is different. Once a defect occurs, it cannot be restored. Jian Wushuang has the power of life, and can't restore the origin of the indigenous emperor. Long Yi, who cherishes his talent, couldn't bear to see Huiqing break the path of the strong, and immediately broke out, showing all his strength. The Zhenlong spear swept across, directly sweeping Huiqing, who was burning the divine body into two. Then he shook his empty hand and shouted angrily, "Town!" Huiqing, who was preparing to work hard, suddenly felt that the whole person had become very light, and his consciousness was also blurred, and it felt like he had fallen into a bottomless abyss. Huiqing still couldn't stop Long Yi's terrifying methods. The two figures appeared, and Long Yi was intact as before, but the aura on his body was stronger, and his complete combat power made the entire human world tremble. But Huiqing only had two mutilated bodies left, and the divine body was completely shattered, leaving no trace, but the origin was still intact. It's just that his own consciousness has fallen into a deep sleep, which is the consequence of being injured too seriously. Once the origin drops to 30%, it will automatically fall asleep. Jiangshang, who was hiding under the willow tree, found that he could not feel the breath of the master, and his eyes turned red. She, who was supposed to be distraught with grief and indignation, didn't even cry for some reason, just standing there quietly, staring at the two bodies floating in the air. She held her hand slightly, and a green light radiated from her body. If Jian Wushuang saw it, she would definitely be shocked. Life force. At this time, a huge amount of life force emerged in Jiang Shang's body. In her origin, the grass and wood spirit holding his paws, said in a weak body, "Master, I'm so sleepy." The spirit of vegetation exhausted his strength to elevate Jiang Shang's origin to the extreme. In Jiang Shang's original space, countless black holes were born without a single star. These black holes continued to swallow and evolve, and finally turned into a complete space, a very real space. The spirit of grass and trees used his own life to help Jiang Shang directly master the universe. Today's Jiang Shang has been promoted to the top. And still in the universe, Yu reading www.Akanshu, the ultimate realm of calm promotion. The strength is stronger than the absolute pinnacle that created the secret of the universe, especially her origin, which is very special, but inherits the origin of the spirit of vegetation. That vitality comes from the spirit of vegetation. Born life. Let go of him. Jiang Shang's voice was cold, his head slightly lowered. His figure rose and stood in front of Long Yi. That life force was directly injected into Hui Qing's body. The originally mutilated body began to heal. It's just that this life force is not complete and cannot cure the root cause. So Hui Qing is still in a coma. Although Long Yi was surprised at this, the other party actually had the power of life, which was too strange. The reason for staying with Hui Qing was because of his own person. Facing Jiang Shang, Long Yi would not keep anything. The opponent's strength suddenly soared so much for some reason, but it was fine. The current Jiang Shang is comparable to Hui Qing just now, not even as good as Hui Qing, which is nothing to Long Yi. Little girl. Long Yi's words were not finished yet. The next moment his eyes burst. A burst of force instantly penetrated his chest, and he looked down and saw that it was Jiang Shang. With just one finger, it directly penetrated the cyan armor, and a hole appeared in the chest. Long Yi didn't react, and his breath had begun to weaken. The blow just now caused him injury, not only the physical injury, but also his origin. This. Long Yi stepped back, pointing at Jiang Shang and said in horror, "How is it possible?" Jiang Shang's complexion was cold, and he did not give Long Yi a chance to relax. He shot again, and the red long sleeves flew behind him, rushing towards Long Yi. At this moment, she didn't even know it, and before she knew it, she already had the power of the tribulation realm. Chapter 5571. But she is just a newcomer. It was the power of plants and trees that released her own life force, and she had only reached the pinnacle. But now she was able to hurt Long Yi and even crush it. Long Yi's defenses were so terrifying. Jie Jing tried to hurt Long Yi, but he didn't expect that he would be injured by a little girl today, and he would still be beaten under pressure. Long red sleeves wrapped around Long Yi, making him immobile. Jiang Shang raised his hand again and pointed out. The space shattered, and the dry bones on the ruins began to rise. The world fades. Long Yi, who was by Wuhua, yelled Yulong Shangbin. This is the secret method of the peak of the universe, specially created for him by Qishan. How could it be that simple? Boom! The red sleeves that trapped him burst instantly, and Long Yi broke free. After breaking free from the restraints, Long looked a little embarrassed, and said with relief, "No wonder. No wonder Lord True Spirit wants to suppress you. He understands now. Understand thoroughly." Long Yi didn't look at Jiang Shang, but at the afterimage behind Jiang Shang. A towering giant tree stands behind Jiang Shang. No wonder Jiang Shang's strength is so strong. It turns out that he still has a helper. Long Yi recognizes that willow tree. That is the willow god of the forest of 10,000 treasures. That is the real master of the universe. Lu Shen, originally an ordinary willow tree in Mo Luo time and space, was later enlightened by Qi Shen, because a person who was very important to Qi Shen was buried under this willow tree. With the help of the gods, that ordinary willow tree transformed into a spirit, and created the Forest of 10,000 Treasures. In the end, he mastered a universe and became the master of the universe. After the fall of the gods, the Forest of the Gods was moved to the Temple of the Gods of the Gods. Later, the consciousness of the willow appeared in the Forest of the Gods, and that consciousness was not the same as the willow they knew, and after this consciousness appeared, then revived some of the spirits of vegetation in the Forest of 10,000 Treasury. This real spirit couldn't bear this at all, so a group of strong men were sent to open up wasteland and slaughter the Forest of 10,000 Hiddens. Eventually, the willow god appeared, and the real spirit also ended. There will be a shocking battle. I didn't expect to be alive. Long Yi immediately passed the news to Jinling. It's a big matter, and it's beyond his ability. The origin of the sea. Jinling opened his eyes and said to himself, "Humph, I know you are not dead." On the chessboard he placed a piece again, this time in the first prison. Fuego has reached the pinnacle. Now Frosa and Frosa are preparing to leave the first prison. That touch of picture finally fixed on Jian Wushuang, the true spirit deity of the Sea of Origin, leaking a smile. Then transmission Long Yi. You come back, don't worry about this matter. When Long heard this, he was a little puzzled, but he didn't really want to do this kind of thing at first, and did not hesitate to put away his breath. He glanced at Hui Qing, thinking about taking Hui Qing away to help him restore his origin. But when he thought that Jiang Shang was still watching him, with the help of God Lu, he wanted to take Hui Qing away, but he didn't have that strength. Little girl, although I don't know why you got the help of Lu Shen, I advise you to break the relationship with it. Otherwise Hui Qing will never have peace. After Long Yi left this sentence, he directly tore the space. Leave instantly. Jiang Shang was naturally not in the mood to chase the other person, but she kept that sentence in her heart. Master will never have peace. Call. She turned around cautiously, looked at the towering giant tree behind the sky, and was stunned. The next moment, the giant tree collapsed. Jiang Shang's whole body was shocked, followed by a violent backlash. His body was weakened to the extreme, and he fell from the extreme realm back to the Sixth Order Emperor. The strength just now does not belong to her, but the universe is still real, and as long as she recovers, she will still be the strongest. It's just that Master Hui Qing was still in a coma, and she didn't think much about it. With the unconscious master, she also left the ruins. For a while, the ruins fell into silence again, and the black mist gradually fell. In the dark fog, if you look closely, you will see a wooden boat slowly drifting over. On the wooden boat, there is also a hat with a round pointed head, and a light lantern in his hand. That light lantern is very similar to the guardian of the Tomb of the Gods, but the strength of the two is very different. Life, the old man on the canoe whispered. His face looked haggard when he looked up close. With a murmur, the wooden boat disappeared. No one knew what happened, not even the true spirit in the Sea of Origin. As for Jiang Shang, he is just an ordinary Sixth Order Emperor now, and he has never found a trace of strangeness. All the aura in the ruins disappeared, and those who paid attention to this place came to the top of the human world. Gone. It seems that the appearance of the third strong man broke the deadlock. What a pity. These people obviously haven't watched it. After staying here for a short time, these people also dispersed. The human world fell into peace again. Swish! In the human world that had just calmed down, a group of strong people appeared again, and they were stronger than the aura just now. But these people were converging their auras, covered by a light and shadow. No one noticed it. Finally figured it out. I have waited for this day for countless epochs. It was the Frosa and others who appeared here, along with Jian Wushuang, and the avatar of True Spirit, as well as Zhuang Zhong, the strong man in the robbery realm. Fuego was nothing. When he was suppressed, only consciousness was left, and he didn't feel anything. The gods are different. He was trapped in the ghost place of the first prison, trapped in countless epochs, and now he breathed the breath of the human world for the first time. At this moment, no matter how much he paid, it was worth it. Even the air feels very sweet. It's a pity that there are ruins below. If you go to the east and see a forest where the air is sweeter. Zheng Ling was a little impatient on the side, urging, Well, the breath of the primitive universe is sweeter, let's go. When he said that, he opened a cosmic channel and went out along the channel, which was the original universe. Enter the universe, tear space at will. You can enter the long river of time and space. At that time they are truly free. Where's the Masa? Don't forget him. Fuego reminded him from the side. At this time, a crack appeared in the space again, and a Taoist in yellow robe, holding a giant egg in his hands, walked out of the crack. The visitor is Wuxia. Now it's all together. Zhenling joked from the side. Frosa went lazily to talk to Zhenling, motioned for Fuego to take it, and turned to look at Jian Wushuang. This time, it was possible to get out of trouble so smoothly, but Jian Wushuang was all about it. Not only helped the two of them recover, but also brought him into peace talks with the true spirit. Even if Jian Wushuang could not be taken away, he had to have a close friendship. Jian Wushuang's potential is not weak for the giant gods. He will definitely become a catastrophe in the future, and the Lord of the Universe will not be difficult, and there will still be a chance to meet again in the outside world. Chapter 55-72. This time, thanks to Brother Wushuang, Frosa's old brother directly pulled his relationship with Jian Wushuang to the nearest. Jian Wushuang was a little awkward, but he was still very happy when he thought that the other party would get out soon. Half of the reason he has gotten here today is due to the Frosa, and half is due to Yuzuo. They are all giant pits, the plague god. Jian Wushuang would not take the diligence of the gods seriously, nor did he dare to take it seriously. The true spirit next to him was still watching. He could not be too enthusiastic or humble. Since the other party wants to be equal to him, he is not welcome. With a dry cough he said, "It's a small matter. Simple and clear is the best, and Zhenling would like to see it. This is not a trivial matter. I owe you a favor in private. When you encounter it in the future, don't be polite. If you are not used to it, even if you are not used to it, come to me at any time. Hold the card. Anyone who encounters my giant clan strong, as long as you take out this token, there is no danger." This is very domineering, but even the real spirit does not suspect that the other party is exaggerating. The giant gods really have this strength. Jian Wushuang also understood that there was a slight movement for a while, but the other party's words clearly meant to devalue the Temple of Qixin. He hesitated for a while, whether to take it or not to take it. "Since I've given it all, you can accept it." Zhenling saw Jian Wushuang's entanglement on the side, and he was a little more generous, and took the initiative to help Jian Wushuang to get through the siege. Only then did Jian Wushuang dare to accept the token, and at the same time bowed, and thanked the true spirit. The matter has reached this point, and it can be regarded as a complete ending. The strongest black hand shrouded in the 4 secret realms is about to withdraw from the history of the Temple of Qixin. The unlucky Frosa, the cold-hearted Fjago, and the unhatched Fulmas. 3 powerful giants walked into the passage. Frosa looked back, and then went straight into the passage. Since his birth, he has spent most of his time in the Temple of Qixin, which is also his first hometown. Jian Wushuang looked at their backs, and heaved a sigh of relief in his heart. The true spirit is very relaxed on the side, finally sending these people away, and the 4 secret realms in the future will restore calm, and completely become the back garden of the inheritors. As for the bigger troubles, it was in purgatory, and he had no choice but to take one step at a time. Wow. After Zhenling put away the passage, he turned to look at the few people left by Frosa. In addition to Jian Wushuang, there are also the great elder of the Mayuo kingdom and several emperors. It wasn't a threat to it, but since it was a dead warrior, there was no need to keep it, and the emperors turned into fans in the wave of hands. Elder Emoluo's body was shocked. He was not a dead man. He had known that there would be such a day for a long time. He did not resist, but closed his eyes. "Wait!" Jian Wushuang brazenly stood up and said, "Master True Spirit, he is not a dead man. Can you kill him and let him go to the mine to make up for the big mistake?" Seeing this, Wuxia hurriedly cooperated with Jian Wushuang and said, "Master True Spirit, this time I won a complete victory. These robbers, young people, let the subordinates come down and solve it." the elder of Maluo Nation. Although there is no fear in his heart, he also wants to live in his heart. Right now, I felt grateful for Jian Wushuang and Wuzhua. Zhenling squinted at Wuzhua, only to make Wuzhua close his mouth and step aside. But it's just an absolute top. Since he has mentioned it, there is no need to add another massacre. Among the inheritors now, whether it was Huiqing he had been optimistic about before, or Jian Wushuang that he hadn't been optimistic about, he was offended one by one. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang said that he sent some treasures and kept them for use. But Huiqing is different, she has a hard time. At that time, it took such a high price to cultivate, and as a result, it cultivated a scourge. I don't know if there is a ghost around. To Jiangshang, the true spirit is not soft, and this threat is greater than that of the giant gods. Dealing with the giant gods, you can also defeat and deal with it head-on. But the original true spirit in Jiangshang's body is of the same kind as him. What if he is suddenly taken away that day? However, now he has paid attention. If this is the case, then spare his life. As for the mine, you don't need to go to the mine. Let's follow Jian Wushuang as a guardian. What happened last time can't happen again. Zhenling said with emotion, as if I feel like I almost lost a general. Wuzhua was surprised to hear from the side, and he was even more certain that Jian Wushuang would definitely be the master of the Temple of Qixin in the future. Otherwise the true spirit would not be able to save Jian Wushuang at such a price. Secretly decided in his heart that he must hug Jian Wushuang, the future nobleman. He thought all this was the merit of Zhenling. If he knew that in the first prison, Zhenling would have almost handed Jian Wushuang to his hand. He didn't know what he would think. Jian Wushuang, who knew everything, didn't think so. Zhenling was suddenly so polite. Maybe there was nothing good. This time he will no longer believe in the words of the true spirit. Even if Khan beat him to death, he will not stop. By the way, these special lives are all escorted to Mayin Mountain and given to Mayin. Only then did Zhenling realize that there are still a group of people with more headaches to solve. Behind him there are dozens of special beings with outstanding combat power. Originally planned to keep them in the first prison, but after discovering the situation in the purgatory, I dare not leave these people there. What if there are problems again? As for what he originally promised, he would not fulfill his promise. The true spirit pointed to Zhuangzhong, a strong robbery realm on the side, and said, "You go too, look at these guys. When are you willing to take the magic circle? And when will you let them out?" After hearing those special beings, their complexion changed drastically. You can't do it if you want to open your mouth. Zhuangzhong has now become of the true spirit. Without any complaints, he can only do so. It's good to be able to come out. When Wuzhua heard Zhuangzhong's name, he was a little surprised. He knew each other, and they happened to be on the way, so he approached. Once a disciple of Qixin, Zhuangzhong also naturally knew Wuzhua. Since the two are the same master, the two are also considered to be compatible. On the ruins, there are only 3 people left at this time. Zhenling, Jian Wushuang, and the great elder Mo Luo. Thanks, Tusk. This time you did make a great contribution. You can go directly to the Senate Palace to get the origin of everything. Don't worry, no one will embarrass you. Zhenling said seriously. This time Jian Wushuang chose to believe in the other party. But there was nothing he could do if he didn't believe it. The true spirit turned his head and signaled the elder of Maluo Kingdom to retreat first, and then arranged the next enchantment and cautiously said, "I have one more thing here. I want to remind you." Jian Wushuang heard the words and leaned over, and the two whispered to each other, making Jian Wushuang's complexion completely sink. Chapter 5573. Is there such a thing? True Spirit nodded with a sigh and sighed. I also just learned that the cause and effect you left behind in the realm is so great that the little girl is now able to seriously hurt Long Yi. None Long Yi is an opponent? Jian Wushuang was shocked. A little thing that he didn't care about at the beginning would turn out to be like this. From Zhenling's mouth, he learned that Jiangshang was taking Huiqing and looking for him everywhere. He was about to avenge his blood and hatred. Long Yi, who couldn't stand it personally, went to make peace. but was seriously injured and retreated by Jiang Shang. It's over now. Jian Wushuang's heart was a little frustrated. If he were a sixth-order emperor, he would not be afraid. How strong would he be able to severely hurt Long Yi's supreme peak? He is not an opponent at all. At the same time, he was surprised that this matter was a disaster for him. But for the true spirit, it was a matter between juniors, so he needed to be so careful. This made him a little skeptical, and his eyes stared at the true spirit with a little disbelief. True spirit straightened up with a dry cough behind his hands and continued. I'm not hiding it from you. In order to find revenge for you, Jiang Shang went to the forest of 10,000 treasures and stole a forbidden fruit, so that his strength will skyrocket. Because Hui, for the sake of Qing, am not good at doing it, so I ask you to help. But all this is because of you, and you have to be responsible to the end. I'm responsible? Jian Wushuang's head suddenly got big. Because of Hui Qing's relationship. If true spirit is not able to make a move, is he easy to make a move? Even if he is good to come forward, he is not an opponent. Isn't this asking him to die? Master Zhenling doesn't know that Hui Qing is my life and death relationship. Jian Wushuang didn't want to take the pot, turned his head to the side, his heart was firm, and he was unyielding. He and Hui Qing are really life and death brothers. How many catastrophes they have faced together. How could they go to him? Zhenling continued to persuade. It's not for you to deal with Hui Qing, but for you to eradicate Jiang Shang. My lord, don't fool me. Where am I her opponent? Why don't you go to death? Jian Wushuang was also big-headed. Zhenling hurriedly waved his hand and said, No, she is also seriously injured now, and her strength has fallen to the sixth-order emperor, and Hui Qing is still asleep. This is a great opportunity. Then I won't go either. Jian Wushuang had already determined that there was nothing good, and directly rejected true spirit. Wow! A light and shadow appeared in the hands of the true spirit, making Jian Wushuang on the side shocked, thinking that the true spirit was going to act on him frantically. The face of the true spirit is extremely wretched under the light and shadow, especially the two bean-sized eyeballs. You don't have to go, but this top-level Hadao treasure, I'm going to give it to others. And I want to remind you that I won't intervene in the battle between the juniors. You killed the Emperor Xiantian. I didn't say anything. When Jiang Shang recovers his strength, I will seek revenge from you. I won't care. Zhenling almost wrote the word threat on his face. There is no reason to give a candy first, and then hit a stick. Jian Wushuang grabbed the crystal ball in the light and shadow, biting and not saying a word. A trace of thought power is indeed some treasures and experience needed for the Tao, but it is too far away from the inheritor of Hui Qing when he is in the Three Kings' court, compared with scrap copper and rotten iron. But something is better than nothing. He is now on the verge of being on the verge of harmony, which is a help in the snow for him. Of course, this benefit is not enough. Jian Wushuang casually put the crystal ball into the mustard seed. This time his receipt is actually not small. Excluding this crystal ball, his beast weapon has been restored, and with the unique improvement of the giant gods, it has now reached the complete level. The origin of the beast and of the body, that drop of beast god's blood also played a key role. I also got some information about the outside world from the gods, which is of infinite value. But these were all given to him by the gods. The true spirit took a broken crystal ball and wanted to send him, but it was not that easy. As for the origin of everything, it was originally his, and naturally it was not a reward given. So he began to think about some needs. Treasure, prepare to blackmail the true spirit severely. I can think about it. There are too few things to ask for. His divine body doesn't need to be improved anymore. With the origin of all things, the spatial realm can also break through the black hole realm. In the end, the state of mind is left, but this can't rely on foreign objects. When he solves the growing causal killings, he should also be able to break through. If you don't have any needs, just mention the external ones. He once asked the gods whether King White had fallen. From the gods, he learned that King White had fallen only as a clone. The deity fell in ancient times. One thing is that the deity of King White fell in the temple of Qishan in ancient times, and can be revived by the Sea of Origin. But the White King who had revived the ancient times, The other party did not know him at all. Call. Jian Wushuang sighed. Originally, he had thought about reviving Nie Yuan. He realized the essence of the ultimate kendo from Nie Yuan's origin. Kendo has been following from the end to the present day, and he is about to greet his path to consummation. He has a deep affection for kendo, and he is even more grateful to those who help him gain the Tao. If he can recover Nie Yuan, he is still willing to pay a price. Not as good as this opportunity to blackmail the true spirit. Unfortunately, when Nie Yuan summoned the power of the starry sky, he himself returned to the starry sky, unable to resurrect at all. It's okay to go, it's just Master True Spirit. I have 2 small requests here, I don't know. Jian Wu was solemn, staring at True Spirit in a serious tone. Zheng Ling was startled, thinking that Jian Wushuang was about to speak loudly to the lion, and quickly backed away and twisted. Jian Wushuang, you know I'm just a true spirit, don't look at the power, but I'm actually empty. Treasures, you have to find Zhu Yao. What she has is, I tell you, you just say. Zheng Ling was so scared that he talked about Zhu Yi's privacy, and asked Jian Wushuang to threaten Zhu Yi with treasures. Jian Wushuang was very speechless. If he wanted to do this, he might be ruled by the Lord of the Vermilion Bird Palace. Moreover, his 2 requirements are not for treasures. My lord, you have misunderstood. I don't want treasures, I just resurrect a person. Jian Wushuang set his appeal. Zheng Ling breathed a sigh of relief when he heard it, waved his hand and said, Say, how many people are needed? This is too simple. When he resurrected the emperor, he was revived batch by batch. For the Sea of Origin, there was no burden. If it were someone else, he might make things difficult for him. But now he has Qiu Jian Wushuang, and he has broken the precedent. 1. Jian Wushuang stretched out a finger, his eyes tough. Since he entered the temple of Qishan, he has not many friends. Except for Hui Qing, it was King Bai who really fought all the battles. Although King Bai had plots against him at the beginning, he gradually came into contact with him. The 2 were both teachers and friends, and they taught him a lot. Chapter 55-74. Mr. White. Zheng Ling frowned and said, Why are you resurrecting him? Zheng Ling felt slightly, and only discovered the real body of King Bai from the ancient times. Even if he was resurrected, he would not know Jian Wushuang. I promised him that I would give him a chance to reach the top again. Now I understand the cause and effect. Jian Wushuang said vaguely. The vows of the 2 were also because of this. Unfortunately, it was finally calculated by Frosa, and King White became the ration for Fuego's resurrection. All this is fate. Now that he has the opportunity to resurrect the original White King, he can be regarded as helping the other party, even if he does not remember him. Well, since you are persistent, I can help you achieve it. Let's talk about the next one. Zheng Ling kneaded his beard. These things are not difficult for him. They are all things that can be done with hands. The second requirement is even simpler. Gong Miaoi. She is also a person who can't be more miserable. I'm afraid she is still in prison in the Senate Palace at this time. Release Gong Miaoi. Jian Wushuang said calmly. Although the opponent betrayed him more than once, for the sake of Nie Yuan, he should also give him a freedom. If there is a chance, he will throw the opponent out of the Temple of Qi and give her a world. No problem, True Spirit promised. This matter is actually not a requirement. Jian Wushuang can go and release Gong Miaoi himself. It's just that Gong Miaoi's collusion with the Frosa will be criticized, and the real spirit's shot has solved some unnecessary troubles. Zheng Ling patted Jian Wushuang on the shoulder and said, Then I'm waiting for your good news. Fortunately not insulting one's life. Jian Wushuang was not happy. Some things will be broken sooner or later. If his strength is strong, don't care about it at all. But now that the opponent has grown to this point, he has to get rid of Jiang Shang. The blame is that the opponent's strength has increased too quickly. Hui Qing. An electric arc flashed in Jian Wushuang's eyes. After all, it was Hui Qing's disciple who was killed. After the true spirit left, the elder of Emo Luo Kingdom flew over and bowed before him and said, The subordinate Emo Luo has seen the young master. Emo Luo was still very grateful for Jian Wushuang to help him intercede. Now that the gods are gone, he has nowhere to go. It would be better to follow Jian Wushuang. As for the Emo Luo kingdom in the realm, there is no concern. You don't need to follow me, Jian Wushuang said. Emo Luo couldn't afford to bow, and respectfully said, if the young master is not at ease, I can take the oath of life. Jian Wushuang shook his head. This is unnecessary. But before the other party waited for him to respond, he directly made his natal oath. He is not worried about the loyalty of the opponent, but he is rising fast now, and the guardian of the most powerful force is of no use to him. Now that the is gone, no one will threaten him. Moreover, Emo Luo is only a strong native of the natives, and he does not know as many things as him, and it is indeed of no great use. If that's the case, then follow me first. The other party was so determined that he didn't say much. According to the guidance given by the true spirit, Jiang Shang took Hui Qing and hid in the secret realm of the human world. He had to solve the trouble before he could return to the realm of heaven. Remove the cause and effect, go to the Mahayana Lingshan, get the heart of the beast god, and then you will be left with Hadao. Alright, Jian Wushuang's eyebrows were like swords, his aura changed, and by the way, he wrapped the Emo Luo's aura, heading directly to the west of the human realm. As he got closer to Hadao, his mood became more plain as water. It has been millions of years since he came to the temple of Qishan. His speed is actually not fast, and now he is only a Taoist monarch. There are still many people who practice faster than him. For example, Hui Qing has now succeeded in becoming an emperor in harmony. Among their first group of inheritors, the Tao sovereign of the ultimate way has the most. Today more than 10 people have succeeded in Kotao, and half of them have failed in Kotao. Among the remaining Tao monarchs, some are not confident, and more still want to go to the ultimate path to perfection, and then go to the Tao, each asking for a great deal. Tomb God Mountain, there are thousands of ultimate Tao monarchs. Very few can succeed in the consummation. Except for Hui Qing, there are only 1 or 2 successful. This road is too difficult. But if you succeed, you can step into the 5th order emperor in 1 step. You can quickly enter the 6th order emperor, and then directly go to the secret method, and find the universe secret method that suits you. Once the universe secret method is created, it will be the ultimate combat power. The cultivation rhythm of the emperor is faster than that of the Taoist. The tribulation realm is faster. The emperor has no time limit at least. But the tribulation realm is full of disasters, and you can't hide it. The road to the strong is getting more and more bumpy, but it has never been difficult for practitioners like them. Boom! The huge air wave washed away the oceans, lakes, and mountains. Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo reached the western part of the human world in just 3 days. After seeing the scene in front of him, Jian Wushuang understood why the human world's secret realm had nothing to do with the 4 secret realms. The western part of the human world is an endless desert, covering a quarter of the human world. To the east is the ancient ruins, which occupies another quarter. There are only 2 better lands left, and half of them are controlled by the monster clan. Yu reading www.akanshu. It is too difficult for Terran practitioners to stand up in the secret realm of the human world. Practicing resources are even scarce. In this desert, there is nothing wrong with cultivation, but there are no resources. It's not like a land boundary, an endless frontier, and unlimited resources. It's not as peaceful as the heavens. There are so many ancient forces. The resources are also very saturated, enough for internal consumption, and even surplus. The human world is different. Not only is there insufficient resources, but most of them are monopolized by some strong people alone, and the bottom-level practitioners are miserable. The number of immortals is less than 1/10 of that of the realm, but the number of mortals is comparable to the realm of heaven. This suffices to show that the strong among the practitioners has already had a fault. With such a small number of immortals, there are very few who can have the resources to cultivate to the day of immortals. As for the emperor, it is even a fantasy. As a result, Jian Wushuang passed all the way. His thought power covered hundreds of thousands of miles around, but few emperors were found, and most of these emperors were in retreat. almost passing through the most prosperous central continent of the human world. And they didn't even see one. The Battle of the Emperor. This is peace. This is clearly a morbid supply and demand problem. Each emperor occupies resources and cultivates alone, regardless of the life or death of outside practitioners. And the sect is even less pitiful. Moreover, the entrance threshold of the sect is extremely high, only recruiting some children of the emperor's family. And those big forces have a monopoly on even the ordinary sects, so that casual cultivators have no room for survival. Mo Luo saw Jian Wushuang's doubts and explained, "Young master, the human world is like this. I once visited a human world who is not weaker than me. He once said that he does not control resources. There will be fewer strong people in the human world. It's better to concentrate these resources on a group of people. There were those strong people who were invaded by the earth that day to guard the human world." Chapter 5575. But the Earth realm simply doesn't look at such a barren human realm secret realm. These words are deceiving those casual cultivators, so that the strength of the family power in the human realm has soared in these years. But every one of the casual cultivators can rise. This is a bit interesting. Jian Wushuang nodded, not to agree with the other party, but to feel that the person was too shameless. It shouldn't be the original intention to concentrate resources and give them all to those big families. Initially, it was estimated that the resources were concentrated to cultivate practitioners with better talents and potentials. In the end, family power appeared and began to monopolize the resources that were surrendered, so that the path of casual repair was completely eliminated. In front of the avenue, everyone has a chance. Why did he admit his fate so early? It's not good to give up too early. He has seen strong late bloomers and cannot always admit his fate. Tier Heaven Emperor's potential is weak enough. If it weren't for the beasts, I'm afraid Cheng Dian would be struggling. But in the end, the 5th Order Peak Emperor, Apprentice Taisan, is expected to be the 6th Order Emperor. Although he was at odds with the opponent, and even killed the opponent with his own hands, those who should be admired should still be admired. Others have this ability, and their success has nothing to do with their potential. There is luck and hard work. Luck alone can't go that far. The universe is uncertain. Everyone is a strong future. Jian Wushuang resolutely said, "I want to keep these words." Mo Luo was stunned for a moment, and then promised, "No problem. That great person in the human world. It's nothing. He dare not offend the young master. The temple of the human world is almost just decoration, and there are no strong people, because the human world has no struggle at all. It's just the commonplace that fights against the commonplace. And the commonplace is the law of the temple, so there is no meaning to intervene at all. Although there is a battle between Yanxian, it is also beyond the bottom line. As for the emperors, each sits firmly on the Golden Mountain and the Silver Mountain. They don't need to fight or fight at all. As long as the strength breaks through, we will go to the greater Jinshan Yinshan. Of course, it is difficult to break through without eating and taking drugs all the time. Go now." Jian Wushuang turned around and returned directly to the continent in the center of the human world. Mo Luo also followed behind. The core of the human world God continent. This continent is 1/10 the size of the human world, accommodating some of the strongest people in the human world. However, there are very few strong people here. Although there are the best resources, the number of practitioners is very scarce. Often there are only millions of people in a city. If this is placed in the central state continent at the core of the heavenly realm, there will be more than 100 million practitioners in any city. Jian Wuming gradually sank. Since mastering the power of life, he has gradually begun to study life together, and his thoughts have also changed. Seeing this practice that goes against the laws of all things makes me feel very uncomfortable. Natural selection. Practitioners are to compete. What the temple suppressed in the realm was those who slaughtered the powerhouses of the magic path, or the forces that disobeyed. But I never said that fighting is not allowed. He didn't know why the temple would be so indifferent to the realm. I don't know if this will ruin the human world. In this way, where is the meaning of life? Where is the direction of practice? He is going to open up a path to the strong for everyone in the human world. The holy mountain of the human world, Fengmen Mountain. Here is the Fengshan Gate, one of the three ancient forces in the human world. Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo did not suppress their own breath, but appeared directly on the top of this so-called holy mountain. Looking down, the world is full of attitudes. The holy mountain is divided into three levels. The first layer is the ordinary people, the second layer is Yanxian, Dianxian, Daojun, and the third layer is the strongest core of Fengshanmen, living with tens of thousands of emperors. Go and see below. Emo Luo naturally had no opinion, and the two landed to the first floor of the Fengshan Gate. Looking up here, with a mundane posture, you can't see the top of the mountain at all, only the thick clouds. Outside the mountain gate, a lot of people gathered at this time, because today is the entrance examination of Fengmen Mountain once every 100 years. At this time, the people gathered outside, all extraordinary, are all children of the emperor's family. They either took huge alien beasts or flew in, surrounded by strong escorts. Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo arrived, and those ordinary people couldn't feel their existence at all. But those sixth-order emperors at the top of the mountain suddenly discovered that there are two strange superpowers outside their mountain gate. The human world is so big, there are few strong people, and most of the emperors have names and surnames, especially the sixth-order emperor, and the absolute powerhouse. That is not Megatron Quartet, it has its own territory. It is impossible for strangers to appear, although there are occasional strong men from the realm, who go through the human world to the tomb of the gods. They generally do not stay there. They also know that the human world is barren, and those strong people simply don't like it. Notify the sect master. The aura of the black-robed old man is obviously an absolute powerhouse, and it is not something we can handle. After several elders and Fengmenshan discussed, they first notified the sect master, and then the great elder went to hold each other. At this time, the gatekeeper of Fengmen Mountain was still in the northern part of the human world. It was a rare event to watch the strong men in the eastern ruins fight and gather a group of strong men. Naturally, it was indispensable. Said it is talking about the Tao. In fact, it is a group of old guys killing time and heading to a very prosperous island in the north to have fun. When the news from the sect was received, the sect master couldn't sit still. There had just been a big battle in the eastern ruins, and an unknown superpower appeared on Fengmen Mountain. If there is any connection between the two, then but it's a big deal. After telling the matter to a few others, everyone was ready to leave together to check it out. Most of the top powerhouses in the human world are close relatives, and when there is an emergency, they will hug each other. When the special life in the tomb of the gods struck, they all dealt with it together. Although it's useless, it's not too difficult to protect your fate. Let's go and see who is really related to the eastern ruins. This matter has to be notified to the great lord. Fengmenshan sect master said with some worry. When the rest of the strongest people heard about the great venerable, their expressions changed. They were the number one strongest in the human world. The pinnacle among the peaks, the cosmic mystery created, has reached an incredible level. Even a character who can rank in the top of the earth. Even the current pattern of the human world was laid out by the great master himself. Sect master, it's better not to bother the great lord about this matter, or go and check it out first. Some people think it's not right. After all, it's just a mysterious superstar. There are a group of them here. If there is a superstar, they have to move out of the great master, and it shouldn't be exhausted. Although the sect master of Fengmen Mountain was not at ease, he could think about it again. Because of this matter, it was indeed a bit wrong to let the great master come forward. Chapter 5576. Maybe it was the shadow of a cup bow and a snake. The battle just now scared everyone's courage. This is the case of the human world without fighting. There is scrupulousness in everything, and it does not want to be like the former, and has the spirit of not admitting defeat. Broly slaughtered all over the land boundary, and millions of years of slaughter still did not change the status quo of the land boundary. If it were placed in the human world, it would have surrendered long ago. After discussing it, the few of them stood up together and headed to the sacred mountain in the central mainland. At this time, Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo were floating in low altitude, looking at the entry assessment once every 100 years below. The people who design this kind of assessment are also very interesting. Let some disciples in the sect dress up as casual cultivators and cooperate with those family children in the assessment. Every time they were assessed, it seemed that casual cultivators had entered Fengmen Mountain, just like those family children, but they were all behind them. There is simply no casual repair that can enter Fengmen Mountain. The ordinary assessment is also very simple, but it is just a simple test. It does not identify their respective potentials or stimulate their potential. Not even the original trial screening, especially the black box operation. There are actually quite a few casual cultivators who can come here, but without the help of resources, the strength is very weak, the strong are few, and even fewer can be comparable to those of the family's children. Even if it is comparable, it will allow these true casual cultivators to compete with those disguised casual cultivators. The Fengmenshan disciple who pretends to be a casual cultivator, although his strength is only that, can deal with those real casual cultivators with a crushing attitude. On the ring, a true casual cultivator named Xianjiu was the strongest one in this entry test, even stronger than those of the family. His skin is dark, his body has been refined to the extreme, and ordinary methods can't break his defenses. Unfortunately, this time he drew lots against a Fengmenshan disciple, who pretended to be a casual repairer. The realm and strength of the Fengmenshan disciple surpassed Xianjiu's cognition. Song! A sword came out as fast as thunder. Many spectators couldn't see the shadow of the sword. When the sword stopped, a blood dance splashed on the ring. Burst sword. A family kid's eyes shrank, very surprised. Being able to use the burst sword proves that he has developed sword aura. A casual cultivator, able to display sword aura, made their family children a little ashamed. This year's casual cultivator is too strong. Neither of these two people I meet is an opponent. A girl from a big family touched her accessories, her expression worried. An old man standing behind her raised the corners of his mouth and said with a smile, "Want to enter Fengmen Mountain is not based solely on strength. Look at that person named Xianjiu, isn't he quite unlucky?" The girl was not happy when she thought of this, but rather regretfully said, "With such a strong strength, it is a casual cultivator. It would be a shame not to enter Fengmen Mountain." Most of these family children were born only 100 years ago, and they have very little knowledge of the world. So naturally they don't know some of the methods of closing the mountain. But the old man knew that he had also come from this step, but he hadn't attained the Tao to become an immortal. After cultivating for 100,000 years on Fengmen Mountain, he went down the mountain, returned to the family, and teach the younger generation of the family. Hearing the girl's regret, the old man was stunned for a moment, surprised at the human nature. Then his complexion recovered, thinking of something, and then he said, "It's not a pity that they can't get in because they can't get in. It's impossible." "Oh," the girl nodded seemingly, and didn't think much. "But that seed of destiny is buried in my heart. The battle on the ring is basically one-sided. Among the family's children, there are few size, and most of them sit on the mountain and watch the tiger fight." The casual cultivator's side, however, saw his brow furrowed slightly. A casual cultivator who is not weak said in a low voice, "The guy who uses the sword is too ruthless. Everyone is a casual cultivator. It's necessary." "Unfortunately, Brother Xianjiu, I thought he would enter Fengmen Mountain this time, but I didn't expect to kill a sword master halfway through. It's nothing. There is a sky outside the sky, and there are people outside the world. At least this time, out of the 10 places, 4 of our casual cultivators have entered Fengmen Mountain. In the past there were 2 at most 3. It seems that in the future, our casual cultivators will be even better." "What?" After the rest of the casual cultivators heard this, there was a trace of comfort in their hearts, and they all said, "Yes, those family children, that is, they have more resources than us. If we all have the same resources, They are not necessarily the number of 10 places. How many can stand? In midair, Jian Wushuang watched all this and shook his head silently. This kind of non-existent hope is the most disintegrating. There was a trace of murderous in the eyes that Mo Luo looked at from the side. Why, even you, a strong demon road, can't stand it anymore. Jian Wushuang was a little surprised. Mo Luo Kingdom was walking through the demon path. And this demon elder was naturally also a strong demon road. Mo Luo shook his head and said, "Young master, you are wrong." Wrong? Jian Wushuang couldn't figure it out, and asked in confusion, "What's wrong?" He really wanted to hear the truth of the elder of the Maluo Kingdom. "Young master, do you know where we are born in the magic way?" Mo Luo sighed. "Almost all of us are casual cultivators. And some of the family children are all those who go to the magic way. It's because of the injustice of the family. They are not born with the magic way, nor are they without a heart. In fact, they are the same as the right way, but the way is different. The injustice of the clan will be judged by the patriarch and the patriarch. But who will judge the injustice of the casual cultivator?" Mo Luo became more and more angry, and some bloodshot eyes appeared in his eyes. "It's not that we are willing to go to the devil's way, but that we are forced to go to the devil's way. If we don't become strong, we will be bullied. By one person gets the ascension to heaven. In a family, there is often a strong person who can enter the top power and cover the entire family with one person. This is why, no matter where they go, there will be people clinging together. The strength of a person is limited, and the strength of a group of people is unlimited. The realm may eventually set foot on the road of the human realm, but not now. The human world is the day when the universe has been set, and the casual repair will never start." When Mo Luo said this, he remembered who he was at the beginning. This is a past of the Maluo Kingdom. Jian Wushuang listened carefully and was shocked, and at the same time admired Mo Luo. It was an era of hunger and cold. Mo Luo was born in a ruined stone temple. His begging mother was violated by another beggar, and gave birth to him. It's just that the beggar ran away long ago, leaving his mother alone to raise him. Unfortunately, because his mother lost too much blood when he was born, she froze to death in the stone temple a month later. Mo Luo was rescued by an old monk in the stone temple. Chapter 5577. Under the care of the old monk, Mo Luo had a pretty good childhood. When he was 12 years old, the old monk went out for alms and never returned. After gaining the Tao, Mo Luo also went to check the traces of the old monk, but couldn't find it at all. At that time, Mo Luo was very young and didn't even have a better bowl in the stone temple. He could only do the craftsmanship his mother left him. Beggar, talking along the way, looking around for news of the old monk. It was also at this time that he met for the first time the noble person who put him on the path of spiritual practice. The princess of the Mora kingdom in the mundane world. Although it was only a dynasty of the common world, the princess was an outer disciple of the sect of cultivation. It is also because of that princess that Mo Luo is called Mo Luo. I remember that when he met the other party, he didn't eat a bite of food for 3 days. And when he was about to faint from hunger on the road, he met the princess. Although he was hungry in a trance at that time, he remembered the appearance of the other party for a lifetime. Speaking of this, Mo Luo had reminiscences in his eyes, as well as a trace of sadness. The grace of a meal. He has never remembered that bowl of rice that year. It was precisely because of this bowl of rice that he not only embarked on the demon path, but also led the demon kingdom from a mundane dynasty to the realm of comprehension, and even became a pinnacle power. And he was also considered a top power in the realm. It's a pity that the princess has already left. After Jian Wushuang listened, he understood. No wonder the background of the royal family of the Maluo kingdom is so weak, and the great elder can still be retained, and the feelings have been repaying the favor. From a mundane to a superb. Even Jian Wushuang felt incredible during this journey. A beggar who can't get enough food in ordinary times can set foot on cultivation. At this time he understood why Mo Luo said he was wrong. Although the land boundary is chaotic, the magic road is rampant. But a beggar can embark on the road of cultivation. which shows that the threshold for treating the bottom is not high. At least there is almost no threshold for blood. As long as you have the qualifications to practice, you can embark on this path. Compared with the secret realm of the human world, the realm is heaven. These casual cultivators in the human world rely on their own groping to get to this step with many difficulties. If they enter the oldest force like Fengmen Mountain, they may be able to soar into the sky. But unfortunately, because of the background trapped, this is a big loss. As Jian Wushuang, who is expected to become the heir to the Temple of Qixin in the future, he can't just look at it. He wants to change. On the ring that Xianjiu had already lost, there weren't so many defying links, and the strength was too bad. Just like the emperor slaughtering the immortals, the Fengmenshan disciple who pretended to be a loose repairer not only defeated Xianjiu, but also abolished the opponent's cultivation base. It's simply a rush to kill. With the help of a group of casual cultivators, Xianjiu stood up with difficulty and looked at the 10 people who had successfully entered Fengmen Mountain on the ring. The fear in his heart and the reluctance in his eyes were beyond words. Practicing assiduously, surpassing the mountains and ridges for decades, now I am at the threshold of the doorstep. Brother Xianjiu, don't be too sad. With your talent, even if you can't enter Fengmen Mountain, you can still enter other weak sections. There will be a boundless future in the future. Someone comforted. But Xianjiu knew that the cultivation base had been abandoned, and there was no hope. Unlike the lonely exits of these casual cultivators, the family's children did not change their expressions. Even if they haven't entered Fengmen Mountain, their cultivation base is still reserved, and they can go to other sects and try again. As for casual cultivators, wanting to cross the range of one sect and go to other sects is simply a fantasy. In the mountains and rivers, monsters are rampant, and being able to come to Fengmen Mountain is already considered good. At this time, Jian Wushuang could not stand it for a long time, and directly leaked his figure. The people below instantly felt a terrifying aura, standing on top of their heads like the sun. Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo were floating in the air, staring coldly at the people below. The elders of those families have also seen some things in the world. Knowing that the people here are extraordinary, they must be immortals, and they quickly respectfully worship. Farewell, God. Sanxiu also reacted at this time, and bowed to see him. For those family, Jian Wushuang did not have a good face, and fell directly into the casual cultivator, which made those family powerhouses a little puzzled. The juniors don't know, but the strong in the family are very clear about the rules of this world. The powerhouses who can cultivate to become immortals are all from a family or from a big power. So how can they take care of some casual cultivators? Jian Wushuang ignored these people and went straight to Xianjiu. A trace of life force turned into everything and gathered into Xianjiu's body. A breath of breath broke out from Xianjiu's body in an instant, and several casual repairers who supported Xianjiu on the side were directly shaken back for several battles. Xianjiu, who had been severely injured and abandoned, completely recovered. Not only his cultivation base was restored, but his strength also skyrocketed. And it skyrocketed in an instant. The clan children looked shocking. Xianjiu's aura had surpassed those strong in the clan. On the ring, the face of the Fengmenshan disciple who defeated Xianjiu earlier changed slightly. He was originally responsible for abolishing these disciples, who were sent out by the sect. A Khonshu. Calm turned out to be due to misfortune. Envy rose for a while. Xianjiu was very excited. It was the first time he saw Shangxian. He didn't expect that the other party would help him regain his strength, and also help him improve his cultivation. Now he himself can't control his strength. According to the hierarchy rules of the human world, he is now in the realm of law. Right now he bowed down and said respectfully, "Thank you, God." Jian Wushuang leaked a smile, turned his head to look at Emo Luo and said, "He has good potential, so you can help me accept him as a disciple." Yes, Emo Luo was a little surprised. He just knew that Jian Wushuang couldn't understand what the human world did. He didn't expect that he would accept a mundane disciple as soon as he shot. However, the other party's potential is indeed not small. If he is in the boundary, Even if he has no background, he can still embark on the path of immortality. With his training now, it is not difficult to become an emperor. Hearing that someone was about to accept him as a disciple, Exanjio was stunned for a moment, and then reacted, turning around and banging his head 3 times to Devil Luo. Emo Luo looked a little happy. The dark-skinned young man with short hair had a personality that was very similar to him. He had an indomitable spirit, and he accepted it well. Jian Wushuang next to him looked at each other's joy, but sighed in his heart. It is better to teach people how to fish than to teach people how to fish. I understand this principle, but it is very difficult to really do it. If he wants to change, he has to mess up the secret world of the world. If he does this, I am afraid that the temple will have to take action. So he has to come up with a countermeasure. Build a pinnacle power. Just in the human world, it is wrong to act rashly, but it will offend all the forces in the entire human world. If you offend these people, even if you want to help these low-level casual cultivators, there is no way. Chapter 5578. In a world, there is no top powerhouse. No matter how great the potential of casual cultivation, it is difficult to reach the peak. With guidance, there is a world of difference from crossing the river by feeling the stones. Emo Luo looked at the dark boy in front of him and thought of himself. That princess, once Emil, allowed him to create the Maluo Empire, and everyone who helped him at the beginning was in a high position. He was the only one who resisted everything. Go all the way and become the best. Get up, the elder Maluo said mildly, and the first time he accepted a disciple, it became more and more pleasing to the eye. Jian Wushuang stared, but there was a slight change in the source. He could actually see the top of Xianjio's head with a line. Above the lines there are blocks of pictures. It was the future. A journey of pursuing the original heart unexpectedly made him realize the time. Jian Wushuang was shocked. He was a Taoist who hadn't reached the realm of a black hole in the origin of his space, but he was able to perceive time. This is cause and effect. He understood it instantly, and cause and effect moved time, allowing him to see the other side's future. That picture is the battlefield. Staring at him, Jian Wushuang saw a dilapidated battlefield. Where was the entire human world? The ruins and the broken walls are added together, the blood-colored sky, the dark emperor, the broken stones, and the broken bones. It's like on Earth. Xianjio stood in the sky just like Shura. The aura on his body made Jian Wushuang a little afraid now. I originally thought that even if the other party had the help of Emo Luo, it would be good to be an emperor, but it seemed that the opponent's future would be an absolute powerhouse. Break everything? Jian Wushuang closed his eyes, pointed out. The life force burst out instantly, and everything around him grew crazily. A piece of grass instantly turned into a towering tree. A grain of dust rose from the ground and became a mountain. As for those mundane practitioners who were watching, they turned into powder in an instant. The horror of life force, but these people can absorb. Those few powerful family elders were surprised when they felt the power of life. The realm continued to rise, and they almost became immortals. As a result, the gods collapsed in the next moment, and the power of life on their bodies was swallowed by a powerful force. Absorb. Although Emo Luo knew Jian Wushuang's strength, and also understood the horror of life force, how could he restore a severely wounded tribulation realm to its peak in a short time? At the beginning, in the big formation, he felt the terrifying life force, continuously transforming into the power of all things. Now when I feel the violent life force positively, I am still extremely shocked. This is much rarer than the original treasures. If he can get it, I am afraid that it will not be a problem to cultivate the mountain for a long time. This terrifying life force is directed at Xianjio. Young master, why is this? Emo Luo didn't understand. It was okay just now, why did you do it all of a sudden? Jian Wushuang's eyebrows flickered, and even the beasts were used. He turned his head to look at Emo Luo. His face was a bit savage, and he said frantically, "Because I don't believe in fate. If the future is true, then how can Xianjio stop him from this blow? He wants to see that this will not be accurate in the future." Facing the green energy, Xianjiu didn't know why. Everything around him disappeared, and his body came to an ocean. The violent life force is so pure here. He hooked a little, countless energy gathered into the body, and the realm directly climbed all the way. Jian Wushuang just released the power of life, not actually doing it. Just do it. I'm afraid Xianjiu would have died long ago. He just wants to see what is special about Xianjiu, and everything in the future is hard to say. Call. Xianjiu, who felt the power of life, was constantly getting stronger. Jian Wushuang's chest rose and fell, almost releasing all the power of life in his body, but the other party took it one by one. It seems that the opponent's life is really hard. In the future, it may be possible. He's very good. After Jian Wushuang took a breath, his origin instantly recovered to its peak. Turning his head to look at Emo Luo and said, "You have accepted a good apprentice." This sentence made Emo Luo a little puzzled. How did he accept a good apprentice? After not reacting to it for a while, he heard an angry shout erupting from the life force. Only then did Emo Luo understand. On this day, at the foot of Fengmin Mountain, a young man was loosely cultivating. He breathed into the immortal and embarked on the path of immortality. As for Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo, they had already left. When he left, Jian Wushuang didn't say hello. There were a few sixth-order emperors on the top of the mountain, but they didn't dare to come down. But as long as you inquire, you can know the identity of Emo Luo and him. Xianjiu's future is the human world, and it is not good to bring it around. Become an immortal. Growth is very fast. The human world in the future will be changed because of Xianjiu. There is no need for Jian Wushuang to take action. As long as the people in the temple know the relationship between Xianjiu and him, and do not interfere with him. Xianjiu's road needs to go on his own. Just like his current path, maybe it can be done by one person. The West Hammer of the human world. In the boring desert, except for some hungry beasts, there are countless grains of sand. Is thousands of miles away, and there is no one. There is not even a mundane one. On the extreme west, there are some scattered oases, and there are many tribes here, most of which are mundane, and there are few practitioners. The mundane world without practitioners has no order. Water sources are completely monopolized, and if you want to drink water, you need to pay a price. My Luocheng. Speaking of a city, it is actually more like a dilapidated town. The only thing that stands out in the city is a huge stone statue of the orc. Under the stone statue, a group of unclothed ordinary people, thousands of people each skinny, holding some weird-shaped utensils in their hands, some even holding the dry bones of wild beasts as utensils. They raised their heads, not afraid of the violent sunlight, just waiting. What are these commonplaces doing? Outside the crowd, a young man turned his head to look at a black-robed old man, and asked curiously. The old man groaned for a while, staring at the stone statue for a while, thinking of something, and replied, "Should be waiting for the water." Water. The young man squinted and stared at the stone statue. The next moment, the blood of the stone statue opened its mouth wide, and the fresh water spurted out, and the mundane underneath was squeezed upward like a madness. Compared with the crowd, the water column is a bit smaller. Too much trouble. The young man shook his head and looked at it, piercing through the stone statue, and then the stone statue burst. Boom. The stone statue burst, countless fresh water poured out, and this city became a lake. The old man frowned and said calmly, "Young master, this will harm them." "Why?" Jian Wushuang was puzzled. One old and one young. They are Jian Wushuang and Emo Luo. They came to the human world desert to find out the whereabouts of Huiqing and Jiangshang. They almost traversed the entire West. After searching for decades, they found no clue. Chapter 5579. The two rose into the air. Emo Luo next to him pointed down, and then a towering barren beast leaped out of the desert through the sand, and the body that was a full 1,000-foot-sized heavily smashed into the lake that had just formed. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said, "It turns out that such a thing is at work. It's not that simple. These mundanes can't keep this lake at all. It won't be long before a stronger tribe will attack this place. Jian Wushuang might not have paid attention to these, but Mo Luo has always paid attention to the mundane world of Shima, in addition to searching for Huiqing over the years, and learned the rules of the mundane world here. Greatly hidden in the city, maybe Jiang Shang took Huiqing and hid in the commonplace. Perhaps, Jian Wushuang nodded, and then the two continued to search forward. Nianli traveled through hundreds of millions of miles, and after searching like this, he couldn't find Huiqing even after an era. If the opponent ran to other places, he would be looking for nothing. Now Jiang Shang should not dare to take Huiqing away from the human world. That would be tantamount to throwing himself into the trap. Even if the temple does not make a move, I am afraid he will be notified to go. Probably still hiding here. Cause and effect. This is the biggest connection between Jian Wushuang and Huiqing. I didn't want to be so nasty, but it's no way to find it like this. Looking for so many years a waste of time. Seeking aimlessly will only waste your own practice time. Now Ji Dao is complete, and Sword Dao is also complete. With Nie Yuan's original inheritance, he drew another powerful ultimate kendo from it. Starry Sky. That kendo aura, although not as perverted as Ji Dao, but it is not weak on Ji Dao. Ji Dao is not the main killer. The pursuit is broader than Ken Dao. Kendo is the only one, pursuing the strongest killing among all the ways. The two are also complementary. Young master, it's not a way to find it like this. It's better to dispatch people from the temple to search together. Mo Luo was aside, seeing the current embarrassment. Jian Wushuang shook his head and said firmly, "This matter must be handled personally. If others can, why didn't the true spirit let the power of the Jie realm Zhuangzhong go there? And had to look for him. This is also the cruelty of Jinling. Knowing the relationship between the two, he still wants to make a move. Add cause and effect. Jian Wushuang couldn't hide it. Without beheading Jiang Shang, the future will not only be a great disaster for the Temple of Qishan, but also a great disaster for him. Now true spirit is not in a hurry. If he can solve Jiang Shang, Huiqing still has a way to survive. When it's really a last resort, I'm afraid Jinling will do it himself, and then even Huiqing will clean up together. Had it not been for cherishing talents, I would have done it a long time ago. So this time, he was not only to resolve personal grievances, or to go to Huiqing for some treasures, but to preserve Huiqing. If he takes action, when Jinling pushes this matter to his head, Huiqing will at least not be depressed and leave the Temple of Qishan. Maybe because of Jian Wushuang, he will continue to develop his potential and go further. Today's Huiqing, among the inheritors, can be regarded as a Shang, and it can also be ranked in the top 3, or even second. There have been some 6th-order emperors on the Tomb God Mountain, but the absolute powerhouse has never heard of them. Such a peerless arrogant can't just give up so easily. Jian Wushuang also didn't want Huiqing to be abandoned because of a woman. Don't blame me, Jian Wushuang muttered to himself, and then took out a mirror-like treasure. A drop of blood fell, and immediately caused a burst of thought power, spread out, and swept the world. Cause and effect search. A red line appeared in the sky. Jian Wushuang's eyes leaked killing intent, and he whispered, "Catch up." Following this line of cause and effect, the scope of the goal can be narrowed. The two walked all the way in the direction of the southwest border, hiding their breath on the way, avoiding the grass and the snake. Those strong men in the human world are not going to have a good time these days. If they breathe out at this time, they may cause unnecessary trouble. I don't worry about the other party daring to attack them. I'm afraid that something will happen. After flying for a few days, the line of cause and effect became thinner and thinner, and it disappeared completely before reaching an oasis that was about to dry up. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo both suppressed their breath to the lowest level, and now they are no different from ordinary people. It's here. Jian Wushuang glanced away, and every mundane face below appeared in his mind. Whether it's an old man or a child, or some women, their faces and their bodies have been checked one by one. There is no cover. Jian Wushuang frowned slightly, and said in surprise, "No. He has the power of life, and none of the lives around here can escape his magic eye. Even if Jiang Shang's strength is so powerful that he can severely injure Long Yi, he will not escape his eyes. Since the line of cause and effect stays here, it means that Hui Qing is here. Still have to look deeper. Jian Wushuang and Imo Luo both disguised themselves as master and servant, and entered the town. They didn't ask around. Everything went against their wishes. I first went to find an inn and stayed in. Then every day I ordered 2 liang of soju, and a plate of peanuts at the table downstairs near the window, and waited quietly. Compared with the time spent searching around, wasting a few days is nothing. This inn is mainly aimed at the mundane of this small town. Usually rarely comes to outsiders. Every 10 days at noon, there are some foot power or ordinary people who carry water to the inn to settle down for dinner. Jian Wushuang raised his ears every time, listening to them talk about some trivial things, seeking to find out Jiang Shang's whereabouts. Unfortunately, after living for more than half a month, there is still no news. This method used to be quite easy to use, but it doesn't work anymore. It is estimated that Jiang Shang was really hidden in a cave or underground river, and he would not come out at all. If this is the case, don't blame him for his cruelty and turn this land into rubble. Even if he digs 3 feet, he must be found out. When this idea first appeared, I didn't know whether it was the common luck here, or Jian Wushuang's own luck. It really made him hear something. It was probably related to Jiang Shang. This person was mysterious, and according to the information he had when he came, he was not found at all. There were less than 1,000 people in the town. When he came, he glanced at them, and touched their faces and even some memories. I read everyone's name, age and memory since birth, without any influence from the mysterious person. This method is not ordinary. If he hadn't heard someone talking, he wouldn't know the other person's name. A table near Jian Wushuang, a few burly men in disheveled clothes were drinking. But sitting on the same table was a young man who was incompatible with their appearance and temperament. This person's name is Panin. He is extraordinary, and his appearance is even more so than he can find a younger generation to compare with. Speaking of that mysterious person is this Panin. In Pan An's mouth, he called the mysterious person Gu Jiang. But in Pan An's memory, there is no trace. Chapter 5580 Strange. It can erase the memory of the other party, and let the ordinary remember the name. This memory, I am afraid, is not erased but concealed. To cover his search, I am afraid that the opponent's strength is not weak. There are many ways to cover up. Some simple ones can be done by ordinary people, and even the emperor and the emperor can hide it from the powerful. If he hadn't stayed here, he would have been fooled by the other party. Aunt Jiang. Jian Wushuang shook the wine glass and inserted the other party's topic. Aunt Jiang from Xiangtai's mouth is really that amazing? Jian Wushuang asked, pretending to be disbelief. I just heard the other party talk about Jiang Gus's medical skills, which is better than ordinary people. Even the old man, who is on the verge of the limit, can pull the other person from the ghost gate. Panin looked at Jian Wushuang when he heard the questioning sound, turned his head to look at Jian Wushuang, and found that it was a strange face, so he changed his tone and said, "This man, he should be a foreigner. There are so many people in the small town. Some of them may not remember their names, but they are still somewhat familiar in appearance." Jian Wushuang nodded, and then leaked a curious but unbelievable expression. The Jianggu in the opponent's mouth is almost Jiang Shang, but it is not easy to find the opponent's position. If someone can lead the way, then it's best. Also avoid killing in vain. Panin picked up a jug of wine, and came directly to Jian Wushuang, first with some politeness. Since turning into a traitor, Jian Wushuang naturally has his own set of rhetoric, and just fooled around. Then Jian Wushuang began to compile some news about Jianggu. First he questioned Jiang Gus's methods, and then he was surprised and confused. The mundane performance of a beginner in the world of practitioners is vividly displayed, and the words are sharp. Although Panin looked like a scholar, he was just looking like. After reading a private school for a few days as a child, he only knew a few simple words. Jian Wushuang said that he was a little anxious for a while. Seeing that the time has come, Jian Wushuang took the initiative and said, "Brother Pan, don't blame me for speaking directly. It is true that our family is specialized in medicinal materials business. The old gentleman in the drug store I have dealt with since I was young, and I really didn't listen. Having said the kind of medical technique you mentioned, why don't you take me to visit one or two like this?" This. Pan hesitated, and his face was a little ruddy. Jian was double-sided color changed and he was surprised. "What? I'm embarrassed, Brother Pan." "This is not an embarrassment. Then Brother Lao Pan will take me to take a look. If it is true, I will definitely open the family pharmacy here. Please Jiang Gu to sit down." Jian Wushuang directly got up and offered a reason that ordinary people could not refuse. The borders of West Desert are sparsely populated, and the sum is probably not as good as an ordinary country on the border. The sporadic mundanity is still far away. Living in one oasis, many systems are not complete. Small-scale towns, let alone medicine shops, don't even have a decent medical clinic. They use some for a long time. The means to analyze the condition of the disease, and then collect materials on the spot. This has shortened the ordinary life expectancy here. Most people died in their 40s because of the wind and cold. If a drugstore was really opened here, it would benefit one party, and it would also allow some refugees to take root here and gather together. Although resources have become scarce, more water and food can be opened up. Therefore, for a common man, there is no reason to refuse this request. But what Jian Wushuang didn't expect was that the other party actually shook his head and refused. "I was so reckless just now." Although Jiang Gu's medical skills are brilliant, she is not a doctor. Jian Wushuang was not discouraged and continued to ask, "Then what does she do? It is enough for me to visit once." The other party has no memory of Aunt Jiang. Even if he controls the other party's body, he can't find the place where Aunt Jiang is hiding. He still needs Pan to guide him. Pan gently turned the wine glass with one hand, turned his head, and looked at the red sun gradually falling outside the window. "She is very special. If it's okay, I don't want outsiders to disturb you." Snapped. Jian Wushuang smashed the wine glass in his hand, pulled Pan's collar directly with his other hand, and said angrily, "You fool me. His patience is limited. If it doesn't work, he will block this place and refine the space directly without believing that he can't be found. If it hadn't been for the virtue of having a good life, he would have done it long ago when he was not very anxious." Since the other party refused to say and didn't want to take him there, he simply broke the jar and did it directly. Pan was also taken aback. How could Jian Wushuang, who was still gentle just now, shot him? And he felt that the hands holding his collar were like a pair of iron tongs, and he couldn't break free at all. The strong-footed men who had been drinking with him left and got up and surrounded Jian Wushuang. Although looking at the evil spirits, they didn't do anything but persuaded Jian Wushuang to have something to say. After all, they are all rough guys doing physical work. You reading www.akanshu. CM Jian Wushuang slanted his eyes, glanced around and said coldly, "I'll give you a chance. Who takes me to find Aunt Jiang? As long as I find it, each person will be rewarded with a piece of beast head gold and take you into the big city." This temptation is not small. A piece of beast gold can buy a yard in some mundane big cities around and marry 7 or 8 wives. And there is no shortage of water in the big city. "Humph, you must be the villain mentioned by Aunt Jiang. Fortunately, I didn't take you there. A piece of animal head gold. I wanted to buy me." Pan was frightened, but some rough guys next to him hesitated. Seeing that there was a play, Jian Wushuang also let go of Pan and didn't pay attention to the other side. But his thought power was spreading and staring at the nearby space at all times. As long as there was a trace of breath leaking, he could be there instantly. Mo Luo stood by, always paying attention to everything in the nearby space. "The third child, let's do it. Aunt Jiang saved your mother. Don't forget your origin, kid." Jian Wushuang shook his head and didn't persuade him. He has no patience anymore. If there has been no news, that's all the opportunity presented to him now. There will be any kind of mercy. If he drags on, Jiang Shang's strength is restored, and he is no longer an opponent. When the time comes, let other people take action. I'm afraid Jinling will give up Huiqing. Let's do it. Jian Wushuang exploded directly into the air. Mo Luo also followed behind, and his hands had gathered qi, and a huge light cloud that covered the sky and sun was suspended in the sky. With just one thought, this place will surely turn into a huge space crack. Jian Wushuang attached his hands and stared at everything under him. Below, the ordinary people also found a vision of the sky, and they looked up. Among them is Panin. Chapter 5581. He stared at the huge fireball in the sky. His legs were frightened, and then thinking of something, he rushed out of the restaurant and ran towards the depths of the oasis. Jian Wushuang naturally discovered this too, and stretched out his hand to signal Mo Luo to wait. An ordinary way of knowing practitioners, Panin was going to deliver a letter to Aunt Jiang, but he didn't know that Aunt Jiang had abandoned them long ago and left when Jian Wushuang just arrived. Panda's speed is not slow. It can even be said to be a bit faster than a mortal's speed. It's just that he is anxious now and didn't find it. It was Jian Wushuang's little power of thought attached to him that made Panda's speed change so fast. In just a stick of incense, he ran into a pit formed by a sand nest and yelled desperately to get Jiang Gu to leave. But there was no response after shouting for a long time. Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo came directly, and a wall of air directly pushed across the sand nest in front of them. The distance is so close. Even if it is hidden in the deep space, it should be discovered. Not good. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily and quickly backed away. The next moment, the ground burst, countless rays of light shot out. The huge force destroyed the sky and the earth, directly forming a whirlpool. Had it not been for Jian Wushuang's discovery early, I am afraid this time he would be seriously injured or even fall. After a huge force burst, this place was a dark and desolate void regardless of heaven and earth. As for those commonplaces, they didn't struggle at all, and instantly turned into fly ash. Thanks Tusk, she hasn't gone far. According to this force, Jian Wushuang instantly discovered that 2 breaths not far from here were slowly moving. With the guidance of this power, Jian Wushuang directly chased after him without hesitation. The distance is not far. He and Mo Luo are very fast. Just getting closer, Jian Wushuang directly used a thought of the universe just to be on the safe side. The sky changed instantly. The sky that was already dark turned into a shining starry sky, and the stars flickered. Today's Yin universe is extremely wide, twice the size of Desiyu, comparable to the big world of the Tongtian Buddha realm. There was a fluke in Jiang Shang, but he instantly realized something was wrong and wanted to use his best to escape, but found that he couldn't get out at all. Jian Wushuang put a hand on Mo Luo's shoulder, and a flashing body appeared directly in front of Jiang Shang. There was a huge sound, and the war was about to start. The corners of Mo Luo's eyes were beating. It was really Jian Wushuang's methods that were too unbelievable. When I thought of the universe, he had seen it. But the last time Jian Wushuang was attacked by a group, he didn't feel too much oppression. Now when I look at it again, he feels that this universe is out of the secret realm of the human world. This belongs to the sword. Unparalleled dojo. A movable dojo. It would be extremely terrifying. Jian Wushuang bowed his head and looked forward, staring at Jiang Shang, leaking a smile. According to seniority, the other party is still his nephew. Such a lovely little niece. If she is of average strength, she should be so good. And she doesn't need to be treated with such a big fanfare. Unfortunately, compared with his face, Jiang Shang's face was harsh and resentful. She carried a huge coffin on her back, and the one in it was probably the sleeping Huiqing. Little niece, why bother? Jian Wushuang shook his head. People are stuck here, so he naturally doesn't panic at all. The main thing is to give Huiqing face. Jiang Shang didn't take it seriously, and he burst out with a breath that was not weak, which made Jian Wushuang's brows freeze, and his heart was a little unstable. His current strength can be comparable to the top of Tier 6, and even rivals the peak emperor of Tier 6, but he still doesn't have any confidence in the face of absolute peak. Fortunately, There is also a Emo Luo, who is extremely powerful in the extreme. Jian Wushuang, even you have to deal with my master. Jiang Shang also noticed that the old man standing beside Jian Wushuang was extraordinary. He didn't rush to do it. Instead, he questioned Jian Wushuang's life and death brothers. She knew that the relationship between Master Huiqing and Jian Wushuang was unusual. Otherwise she would have told the bottom of her heart a long time ago, and even went to kill Jian Wushuang herself. She hasn't forgotten her brother's death. Jian Wushuang rubbed his eyebrows, his eyes changed, and he stared at Jiang Shang and said, I have to do it as a last resort, and I hope to forgive me. In fact, this matter has nothing to do with Huiqing himself. As long as Jiang Shang is killed, everything can be resolved. But you can't say it directly. This will make people say that he is in danger. And I am afraid that Huiqing will need to settle accounts with him when she wakes up. Although he is not that good, he still doesn't have this kind of villainous heart. He didn't even bother to ask Jiang Shang to use such a despicable method as a rat avoidance device. Haha, Jiang Shang smiled up to the sky, and after hearing Jian Wushuang's words, the killing intent in his eyes rose again. It's a last resort. Fortunately, you are a villain. It's a shame to kill. Jiang Shang's voice fell, his complexion suddenly changed, and the universe began to boil at the thought. After feeling the terrifying aura, Jian Wushuang quickly backed away, and Emo Luo naturally blocked him in front. The demon flames on Emo Luo are overwhelming. With the blessing of the universe, I am afraid that the current strength is not weaker than the 3 palace masters of the Elder Palace. Feel your breath is stronger than before. And Emo Luo is also very happy, especially when he feels that even the power of all things is helping him. He roars and his aura skyrocketed again. Let's do it. Jian Wushan sank, and directly ordered Emo Luo to do it. He had to see how strong Jiang Shang could be when he was injured. From the perspective of his aura alone, Jiang Shang was only a first-timer, and with the suppression of Yin Yin universe, the gap between him and Ma Luo was even greater. But he didn't dare to underestimate Jiang Shang. After all, he was able to defeat and seriously injured Long Yi's existence. Maybe he could explode some means to give them both seconds. Can't be careless. At the same time, he also sent a voice message to Emo Luo. A quick fight and a quick decision must be fast. Emo Luo nodded. Although he didn't know the opponent's true strength, from the appearance of his aura alone, he was a lot behind him, and he was very confident in his heart, especially when his strength skyrocketed. Why don't you dare to end in person? Jiang Shang's words were provocative. Jian Wushuang was not fooled by this and said indifferently, What are you waiting for? Let's do it. Boom. Strong waves of air dispersed, and the two had already handed over. Emo Luo's aura is real, and it is indeed much stronger than Jiang Shang, but Jiang Shang's aura is concealed. Although the two fight fast, no one can beat Jian Wushuang faster than Jian Wushuang in the universe of one mind. He could see clearly that when fighting against Emo Luo, Jiang Shang was not weak at all, but his breath was a little unstable because of his injury. It's a bit cunning. Jian Wushuang smiled secretly in his heart. The difference in thought at the beginning has led to such a scourge. If you really want the other party to grow to an uncontrollable level, he will really be over. Had it not been arranged by the real spirit in advance, I'm afraid he would be finished now. Chapter 5582. Fortunately, after being seriously injured, Huiqing fell asleep, so he had no scruples. Otherwise it would be really hard to deal with. Even if it is now, even if Jiang Shang is really taken, he will not do it himself, but hand it over to the real spirit. He doesn't remember this pot. Let the true spirit kill it, or find someone else to do it, and it's a big deal to push it to other people. In this way, Huiqing will not leave the temple of Qishan, nor will he resent him. At the beginning, Huiqing was still a little novice, but now she's an absolute powerhouse. Time. So fast. Jian Wushuang not only sighed. As for the battle between the two, they didn't care much. Jiang Shang's breath is getting weaker and weaker, and Emo Luo will win at any time. If he makes a move at this time, he can take Jiang Shang directly, but he has some scruples in his heart. Sung. The coffin behind Jiang Shang began to sway, and strands of black arrogance emerged from it. As soon as the aura appeared, Jian Wushuang's brows were slightly frowned, and then his complexion changed drastically. Stay back. Before he could stop, he shouted angrily. He thought it contained the sleeping Hui Qing, but as soon as the aura inside was exposed, he realized that it was not Hui Qing, but a force that was diametrically opposed to his life force. Life. Death. In other words, it is a force of extinction, the same as the result of the power of all things. People are two-sided, let alone everything. With the power of life, there is the power of death. That is the dark side of everything. Never imagined that Jiang Shang had this ability, but the real spirit didn't tell him that Jiang Shang still had this power. Not only him, even Zhen Ling himself didn't think of it. Just because the Yin universe blocked this place, even if the true spirit controlled the 4 secret realms, it did not find the power of death. As soon as that power leaked, Mo Luo felt a huge threat. After hearing Jian Wushuang's reminder, he quickly stepped back, but there was still a trace of death power contaminating his body. Mo Luo's complexion, which had been tainted with the power of death, changed drastically, and his pupils were shrinking. First, his body was burned and a large area died. The divine body was constantly cracked, and the origin was withering. Fortunately, Jian Wushuang found out in time that far away, a force of life exploded, directly forcing the power of extinction in Mo Luo's body. Although there is only a trace, it consumes 20% of Jian Wushuang's own life force. Although it can be quickly replenished, but on the battlefield, it changes rapidly. Even if the replenishment time is a breath, it may fall before it is too late. Pay attention to that power. I will cooperate with you and take her down as soon as possible, Jian Wushuang said in a cold voice. He didn't dare to delay it. This force is terrible. Although the force of life and the force of extinction restrained each other, the level of power in the coffin was obviously much higher than his. He is just a Taoist now, and the life force he manipulates is still not pure enough. At least it hasn't reached the point of creating a special life out of thin air. A special life is a life that is born against the sky from the power of all things accumulated in some cosmic secrets into the power of life. Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life, so he could naturally create a special life, but the power of life he manipulated was still too weak. After he breaks through and becomes the emperor, I am afraid he will be able to create a special life. Jia. The weird laughter makes people shudder. No wonder you are so calm. You still have a back hand. Jian Wushuang sneered. Jiang Shang's complexion didn't know what was going on, and it was a bit embarrassing. She turned to look at the coffin behind her, frowning. She also understood the power just now, and suddenly yelled, I want you to die. Jiang Shang broke out completely, his hair fluttered, his aura suddenly increased to an unprecedented level, and Jian Wushuang's universe of one thought was shattered. The huge backlash made Jian Wushuang seriously injured directly. A mouthful of blood spurted from his mouth, and his body expanded, and then suddenly contracted. The divine body also burst down. The life force in the body continued to feed back, and he was relieved. On the other hand, what Jiang Shang just said was obviously not addressed to them. The swaying coffin was torn apart by Jiang Shang, and the force of death in it was released. The thick billowing fog fell away. Without a thought of the universe's blessing, Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo's strength dropped a lot, and their actions were much slower. Fortunately, Mo Luo reacted fast enough and pulled him back. What is inside? Jian Wushuang turned his head and asked Jiang Shang, who had escaped from the thick fog with them. Jiang Shang's complexion was embarrassing and anxious. He gritted his teeth and said, You didn't force it. It turned out that when she left with her master Hui Qing, she met a mysterious strong man, who was willing to help her quickly restore Hui Qing's origin, and gave her a black seed and the coffin. She didn't believe it at first, but she couldn't help it. She couldn't let the master sleep all the time. She dared to put Hui Qing in after she tried it once. I didn't expect it to be like this. In that seed, there is actually the power of death. The power in the coffin is even more special. and it can continue to nurture the power of death. After Jian Wushuang knew the reason, he cursed in his heart. Yu reading www.akanshu.com. He thought that Huiqing was not inside, so he made a circle and really lay there. A trace of thought power containing the power of life entered the thick fog, but there was no breath of Huiqing. No, it's falling. Jian Wushuang was completely dumbfounded. Huiqingjin is going to fall. He is the first to kill Jiangshang. He is my master, and I will save him. You don't need to be hypocritical here. Jiangshang said angrily. In her opinion, Qishan Temple had to act on her and master for some reason. And now Jian Wushuang had chased him here again, which made her wonder if Jian Wushuang had moved his hands and feet behind him. Jian Wu's double-faced color gradually sank, and he thought of the scene in a daze. The masters of the little novices fell one by one, as if they had carried a child who had fallen into the water to the shore. All of them fell, replacing Huiqing and him. In the end, I finally set foot on the road of spiritual practice. Although the journey was a little smooth, it was not easy. But now it is very likely to fall. How can Jian Wushuang's heart not shake? Turning his head to look at Jiangshang, Jian Wushuang no longer concealed it, and said in a cold voice, "Do you know that Huiqing abandoned the cultivation of the temple of Qishan for you, and sacrificed his own life? All this is for you. Not worth it." There was a tremor in the sea of Jian Wushuang's origin, unexpectedly rising a hot force. That is causal killing. Causality is concrete. This means that the power of cause and effect has reached its limit. The cause and effect increased again. Had it not been for him to worship Jiangshang's brother, Huiqing would not have met Jiangshang, and would not have today. Both of them have great cause and effect with him. Makes that kulpa in his body stronger. Jiangshang was stunned when he heard what he said. Then he couldn't believe it. His pupils dilated and questioned, "Aren't you going to kill me?" Chapter 5583. If I wanted you to die, you would have died 100 times. Jian Wushuang shook his head. Killing a commonplace, he doesn't have enough. At the beginning, the breath was very tightly hidden, and he could do it when he saw the other party for the first time. But because of Huiqing, he didn't make a move. As for right or wrong, was it his fault? If there is really right and wrong, then the origin of the universe, the origin of time and space, and even the infinite starry sky are all wrong. Why should such a powerful life be bred? Wouldn't it be better for everyone to be the same? Does he want to sacrifice to those commonplaces? It is not the guidance of the gods. He can only do that to survive. Helped the White King to restore his peak, and finally fell into the trap of the gods and revived Fuego, so that now they are all out of the temple of Qishan, saying that all this has no meaning. In the cruel world, every weak person is sad. The compassion has long been exhausted. So Jian Wushuang wants to strengthen himself, which is why every practitioner pursues the path of the strong. This world is unfair, so I want to be strong. If you have been practicing for such a long time, and you haven't even been able to figure out this truth, then don't practice, just wait for death. Everything follows the highest rules. Huiqing's character still has too little experience, perhaps because he was born in this world by mistake. If he is in a certain paradise, it's best to be immortal for a lifetime. Song. Jian Wushuang closed his eyes and pulled out the Jueyan sword behind him. Everything is so random and silent, but the origin of the kendo in the body has undergone a qualitative change at this moment. With the long sword drawn out, Jianming cut through the silent space. The thick billowing fog broke away immediately. The seemingly unremarkable sword, but a universe made of swords burst out. This sword sent with feelings. It was exactly the sword Jian Wushuang wanted very much to develop. It didn't contain any secrets, but it exploded with his strongest strength at the moment. One sword can cut the summit. After the breakthrough of the 9th level of ultimate swordsmanship, he continued to improve, and he did not have time to create his own pinnacle swordsmanship. Now it seems that he has already made a sword, and has a pinnacle swordsmanship. The huge sword intent slowly split into the thick fog. Wherever it passed, the thick fog dissipated and turned into a line, or it turned the thick fog into a picture. The thick fog that had risen for hundreds of millions of miles instantly turned into a paper-thin portrait. No force can stop where the long sword passes. The power of death will dissipate. Without a thought of the blockade of the universe, the moment this force exploded, it caused a shock in the human world. Some great bosses in the sacred mountain in the middle opened their eyes one after another. The mysterious powerhouse has appeared again. Quick! Tell the temple, this power is not something we can stop. No, don't you tell the great master? The strongest person in the human world has plummeted in status after these mysterious strong shots. Because every one of the most powerful people who appeared these few times was much stronger than the great one. Whether it's Hui Qing who just broke through, Jiang Shang who broke out, or Long Yi, which one is not the half-hearted man who slays the 4 great secret realms? Not only the human world shook, even the real spirit's eyes widened. It was shocking enough that he had discovered the power of death, and he was ready to end himself, because the power of death was of great importance. When Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life, he could sit back and watch, because it is a good thing to have the power of life. Although I have never heard of anyone who has the power of life, fortunately, it is his own people. Now that the power of death appears, even if it is in the hands of one's own people, it must be quickly eliminated. Xianyi's predictions were really terrible. In the future, there will be a peerless strong man who will destroy a long river of time and space. What can destroy the long river of time and space is the power of death. The long river of time and space where the Qishan temple was located was because of the power of death. So stop. But before he could make a move, Jian Wushuang's sword just made him shine. One sword can turn the 9 layers of the universe into one layer, which is to press the space into a piece of paper. This kendo secret technique is even more miraculous than Jian Wushuang's life force. The power of life, although it has not been heard that anyone can control it, but it is everywhere, just in the hands of the rules. But the secret method that can completely crush the space into a piece of paper, not only has he never seen it, he has never heard of it. For a while, I was stunned in place. Human world. Jian Wushuang himself was also very surprised. This sword sent out with feelings. Did not expect to be so powerful. The power of death is like a piece of paper. The sword intent continued to cleave, and the thick fog quickly disappeared. Before the fog completely disappeared, a figure leaked out of the dense fog. He has a slender figure, a round head, thick eyebrows, and a pair of eyes exuding death. The breeze was blowing his robe. Hui Qing. Jian Wushuang's eyes twitched, and he quickly put away the sword. Jianing disappeared completely in front of Hui Qing. Jiang Shang also saw Hui Qing. His expression wanted to step forward, but was stopped by Jian Wushuang. Now Hui Qing has undergone earth-shaking changes. Except for her appearance, her breath and strength are different. Jian Wushuang shook his head, calm whispered, "He is not Hui Qing." When the sword passed, he felt something was wrong, and when he realized that it was Hui Qing, he stopped. What if the opponent is just possessed? He didn't know how strong that sword was. He really wanted to cut Hui Qing. That would be a serious sin. In other words, he is not led by Hui Qing. Jian Wushuang explained. He knew that Hui Qing's power was the power of reincarnation transformed by divine power, not the power of death at all. Jiang Shang was a little anxious, deeply regretful, especially knowing that the master is not hesitating to be an enemy of Qishan temple for him. Everything started because of her. In her body, the true spirit formed again, and she said very tired, "Master." The corners of Jiang Shang's eyes were moist. Gently comfort the original true spirit. At first she was nothing but commonplace, but a commonplace little girl who wanted to eat her meal. Nothing unusual. Live a simple life with my brother. Everything is because of that sacrifice. The sacrifice caused his brother to fall, so she was reborn and embarked on the path of spiritual practice. Without her brother, Shifu Hui Qing is her relative. Now the master Hui Qing is deeply asleep and is controlled by the power of death. The relatives around me, from the early death of my parents, the death of my brother, and the current crisis of the respected master. She felt helpless. The powerful aura on his body weakened again. Yuan Zhenling comforted. Master, this is not your fault. Turning into a cat-like original spirit, he gently arched Jiang Shang's ankle with his head. Compared with Jiang Shang, Jian Wushuang's fighting spirit rose. Mo Luo, you retreat. This battle is a duel between the power of life and the power of death, and it has nothing to do with anyone. Chapter 5584. He wanted to see how strong this power of death was, and that fighting intent continued to rise, from the fear at the beginning to the eagerness to try. This is the heart of the strong. Jian Wushuang has such a heart that can be fearless and unmatched. The surrounding sword intent turned into lightning and flashed around Jian Wushuang. After the change of breath, Huiqing was accompanied by thick fog. The power of death is also present. Huiqing didn't care about other people's meaning, but stared at Jian Wushuang and said, "Life force?" Jian Wushuang nodded, and at the same time released the life force in his body. "Don't you ask who I am?" Huiqing's tone changed after the change. He used to be peaceful, but now he is domineering. Jian Wushuang leaked a smile and said, "It's not necessary." In an instant, the two handed over in an instant. Flash punch. Dodge, draw your sword. Life and death were originally opposed. The breath of the two collided, and a countercurrent broke out. The force of the countercurrent was stronger than the sum of the power of the two, at least 10,000 times stronger. After the change, Huiqing's strength was not as exaggerated as Jian Wushuang imagined. It should be the first to reach the highest level, but the other party's aura really continues to rise. On the contrary, Jian Wushuang himself slowly became a little dysfunctional. No way, Huiqing's body was originally an emperor, and the difference was still a little bit worse. Even if Jian Wushuang's potential has exploded, and can be comparable to the pinnacle for a while, it can't be sustained for too long. It seems that today I will use you to test how strong my sword is. Although Jian Wushuang's breath was declining, and was suppressed by Huiqing, his fighting spirit had not weakened. After testing out the opponent's strength, he really wanted to try which sword just now. Moreover, Zhenling had informed him secretly, so he could do anything at will. Huiqing would not really fall. He had to cherish such an opponent before the real spirit had finished. I haven't given a name for this sword yet. Jian Wushuang took Huiqing's punch and retreated thousands of miles. Fortunately, the current beasts have been thoroughly refined, and their defenses are extremely strong. When that punch came, the wings behind him directly wrapped his whole body, but a part of the power fell on him through the beast's soldier, and that part of the power was directly dissolved by the powerful body. The divine body only slightly dropped by about 1,000 times, and then directly recovered to its peak. It seems that there is no threat, but if he dodges a little more slowly just now, I am afraid that the opponent will be able to blast 10,000 punches, or even 1,000,000 punches in the blink of an eye. His divine body can't recover so fast. I'm afraid it can defeat him in an instant. Huiqing didn't chase, she stayed in place, moved her body she was not familiar with, and looked at Jian Wushuang and said, "The warm-up is over. To be honest, the sword just now was a bit interesting. If you don't keep your hand, I'm afraid I has fallen." He could feel that without mentioning Jian Wushuang, the current Huiqing is stronger in Vietnam, and it is a bit like Change Dao, but not to mention the terror power of Change Dao, but is not familiar with Huiqing's body now. As time goes by, I am afraid that Huiqing's strength will be stronger. Since it's going to be true, you haven't said what it is called? Jian Wushuang looked at the other party and asked curiously, although it is not clear who the mysterious strong man who came into contact with Jiang Shang was. The other party dared to directly calculate the inheritor. This is a felony. If discovered, it may not be possible to escape death. When the gods dared to do this, it was because of the background and strength and wisdom. He was curious, who was behind him, who was so courageous. Just sent away the gods. Another one who is not afraid of death comes. The most coincidental thing is that they were all touched by him. Only this time the opponent found Huiqing, and finally got rid of the identity of the chess piece. This seat extinction. Huiqing calmly said the name. Jian Wushuang didn't expect to be so direct, before he smiled from the bottom of his heart, he was dispelled by the next sentence. Forgot to tell you, you don't have to wait for the true spirit of the Temple of Qi. My deity personally intercepts. He can't get there. Miexing sneered. Who are you? Jian Wushuang's eyes shrank a little, his voice trembling. Knowing the Temple of Qixin and the true spirit, I am afraid it is not a native. Could it be that? Jian Wushuang thought of Zhuang Zhong's appearance. I thought that the Frosil was gone and the world would be peaceful. But as soon as the front foot left, another one came. And also holds the power of death. The deity intercepts. The sword has no double-sided color change, can stop the true spirit, and is the true spirit's deity. Then the opponent's deity is also in the tribulation state, or is not weak in the true spirit's tribulation state powerhouse. Maybe it's better than the real spirit and stronger. The true spirit manipulates the origin of the Forbidden God Temple, and its strength can be skyrocketed. It's like the Lord of the Universe is in his dojo. I can't care about that much, Jian Wushuang must do it right away. The true spirit is his biggest hole card. It didn't matter at first, because there is true spirit to give him the bottom. And now the true spirit is not coming. He dare not support it. Although you are anxious, you still need a name for this sword. Jian Wushuang began to gather sword intent. And the Jueyan sword behind him was pulled out again. In the past, the space was often cut. But now the space can be compressed into a piece of paper. This can be regarded as the prototype he prepared for the future cosmic secret law. Just call it Star Catalog. Jian Wushuang shouted angrily, and opened up the sword again. Star Catalog. Sooner or later, he wants to make the entire starry sky tremble under this sword. Now that Yijian compresses the nearby space, in the future he will turn the universe into a picture with one sword. What a wonderful moment that must be. A portrait of the universe. Star Catalog, the first sword. In the ordinary, there is no fierceness, on the contrary. It is full of romance. And it has the meaning of a literati and a guest. Because Jianing is very slow, it is more like a sword dancing. But it makes people a little desperate. Everything that Jianing passed was transformed into a plane. Hui Qing, who was under the control of Miexing, was also surprised. Jian Wushuang was not surprised that Jian Wushuang controlled the power of life, because he had expected it a long time ago. Tai Chi produces 2 instruments, which transforms into 4 images. It's all relative. If there is death, there must be life first. So when Jian Wushuang mastered the power of life, he appeared. But he didn't expect that after having mastered the power of life against the sky, Jian Wushuang would actually be able to create such a pinnacle and unique knowledge against the sky, which already had the embryonic form of the cosmic secret law. He really didn't dare to resist this sword. But when I was in front of me, it looked very slow, but it was actually blinking. This sword contains too many things, at least it contains space and time. If the Tribulation Realm display doesn't say anything, it's just a Taoist performing it. In fact, Jian Wushuang himself didn't know that his sword could contain time. But he obviously didn't feel the origin of time, or even the true meaning of time. Chapter 5585 Time. That represents the most powerful source. How could Jian Wushuang be a Taoist master? Even a super strong like Emoluo couldn't feel the origin of time. Only when the space reaches the perfect state of the universe will you feel time. And the perfect consummate among the best, like Wuxia, can be recognized by the origin of time. A sword floated. The world has slowed down, but it is consistent and irresistible. Miexing's eyes were round, and one hand suddenly stretched out. Compared with Jianing, it seems to be fast, but there is nothing to do. The palm couldn't catch that sword shadow at all. Instead, his entire arm began to compress. Without any external damage, a round arm turned into a thin piece of paper. The extinction who wants to get out of it, panic. How can you master the time? This is impossible. Miexing couldn't believe it. The original plan was very good. With Jiang Shang to attract Jian Wushuang to come. The deity is to stop the true spirit. His request is great. Although the force of death and the force of life restrain each other, they may be able to merge with each other. After the collision of the two, the force of death and the force of life merged. The power that burst out was incredible, and it was a breath that was stronger than any other force. If it can be integrated with Jian Wushuang, it will die with one hand and life with the other. I am afraid that the strength of the deity will soar to the extreme in an instant. Mastering these two forces will embark on a truly invincible road. What he never expected was that Jian Wushuang, in addition to mastering the power of life, could actually create such a powerful jerk. There is the true meaning of time in the jerk. This is already a move at the level of the cosmic secret law. Main idea? Maybe not. Hui Qing's physical body from his arms to his whole body, and all the surrounding tens of thousands of miles, turned into a painting. That breath of death disappeared completely without leaving a trace. Before the avatar of Miexing died, although there was unwillingness in his eyes, there was also some madness. For him, the stronger Jian Wushuang is, the more excited he is. This time he was not prepared enough, but Jian Wushuang would not have such good luck next time. His deity can hold the true spirit in the Sea of Origin, and come and go freely. That is the deity with the combat power of the 6 calamities. Jian Wushuang, a small little Daojun, couldn't stop him. The breath of death has been shrouded in the 4 secret realms from now on. The Sea of Origin. The real spirit was furious, staring at the old man who was standing in front of a leaf boat. The corners of his eyes were beating constantly. I know you. Zhenling pointed at the other person, with fear in his eyes. Extinction. At that time, Morwa was one of the 4 great 6 Tribulation Realm powerhouses, and he was the only 6 Tribulation Realm power who did not take refuge in the Temple of Qishan. In the ancient times, the opponent was extremely low-key, and eventually Moro time and space were destroyed, and the opponent disappeared. I thought it was fallen, but I didn't expect to be alive. And he was in the Temple of Qishan. A 6 Tribulations realm sneaked into the Temple of Qishan. This is pretty good. Extinction and True Spirit did not actually do anything, but opposed to each other. Different from the fear of the True Spirit, there is only joking in Miexing's eyes. You really let me down. Miexing stared at the True Spirit and continued. Jian Wushuang, I'm going to make a decision. Even if Thea is reborn, I can't keep him, I said. This is not big talk, but real self-confidence. The True Spirit stared at Daixing and said coldly, I'm afraid your appetite is too big to eat him. These words made Miexing stunned. His eyes shrank slightly, and he said in amazement, You seem to know something you shouldn't know. Haha, the combination of death and life. What's hard to guess? Zhenling smiled awkwardly. Clumsy acting skills cannot be concealed in the face of extinction. Miexing kept staring at the True Spirit. Then his complexion faded slightly. The Bianzhou turned into a broken ancient ship and began to retreat slowly, leaving a sentence before disappearing. Since I know, I shouldn't interfere in this matter. Don't forget, the purpose of the Temple of Qishan is for the rebirth of the gods. Who is born and who is dead? Zhenling said as if he was the deity. In his spiritual consciousness, there is only one explanation, and that is to revitalize the brilliance of the Temple of Qi in ancient times and nothing else. After disappearing and retreating, Zhenling breathed a sigh of relief. His face was extremely solemn, and he tore open the space directly to the human world. The war in the human world has just ended. Hui Qing has made a portrait, and the portrait is full of martial arts. It's a pity that it's always frozen at this moment. Jian Wushuang looked down at the portrait floating in the void. He pointed it out, and turned into a sharp blade to instantly cut out Hui Qing's portrait. The rest of the desert turned into a portrait was swept away by the fierce sword gas, and turned into dust, as if it had never appeared here. Jiang Shang looked anxious and wanted to rush up, but Mo Luo stopped his way, carefully put away the portrait of Hui Qing, and found that he couldn't put the mustard seeds, which proved that Hui Qing still saved. Jian Wushuang finally breathed a sigh of relief. If this really cuts Hui Qing off, he won't be able to be a man anymore. Not only wanted to kill his apprentice, but Hui Qing himself was also beheaded. He's not dead. Jian Wushuang turned his head to look at Jiang Shang, knowing that the True Spirit would be here soon, and he seemed very calm. Jiang Shang's breath was unstable, and the strength he had just exploded was indeed very strong, but now it has fallen again. The same is true of his own aura. The complete sword just now almost exhausted the origin of Kendo. It also takes a while for the power of life to be transformed into the power of all things. This sword is his strongest sword so far, and it is also the strongest genius he can stand in the midst of the top. It would be wrong to be able to display it. He didn't expect to be able to cut out 1,000,000 swords at a single breath, just like other moves. It is estimated that after he arrives at the Emperor, it is very difficult to do it. If he really wants to reach that level, I'm afraid he will be truly invincible in the extreme. Nowadays, a sword can seal a powerful person who has just reached the top. Even Emil Luo may not be able to block this sword. He can indeed stand tall. It's a pity that it is too single, and only this sword can threaten the absolute top. Wow! The true spirit deity descended in person. The horror aura spread. Jian Wushuang and Emil Luo hurriedly bowed to meet. Jiang Shang had seen a clone of the true spirit. Knowing the identity of the opponent, she faced several hunts and killings. She was already full of hostility towards the true spirit. At first she thought it was Jian Wushuang doing his hands and feet behind her back. But now that she knew it was the true spirit, she was relieved. If it is really because of her that affects Master Hui Qing, then give this life to the other party. Thanks, it's really wonderful. Zhenling pressed his hand, motioned Jian Wushuang and others to get up, and walked directly in front of Jiang Shang. Jiang Shang bowed her head and clenched her fists. Even if she broke out again in the face of the true spirit, she would have no chance of winning. Facing the true spirit, she had no choice but to be slaughtered by others. This situation caused the origin in her body to change again. Chapter 5586. Let's go. The originally relaxed true spirit suddenly became nervous for some reason and frowned. A thought of death turned into a figure. It was the deity who died out. He stood on the simple ancient ship, grabbed Jiang Shang's figure directly with a virtual grip, and entered the ancient ship, glanced at the crowd, and said to Jian Wushuang, "Little guy, don't worry, we will meet again." Jian Wushuang looked up, his eyes burst with blood lines, and the terrifying force of death suppressed the life force in his body. If the one who had just met was the extinct deity, he might have fallen by now. Destroying. Zhenling also gritted his teeth. The temple of Qishan has begun to split unconsciously. Miexing not only took away Jiang Shang, but also rescued the Lord Shan, the Gorfiend in Mayin Mountain, and the 10,000 demons in Xuanwu Hall from the second prison. The great Tao of swallowing turned into the 3 true monarchs. The first true monarch was that the mountain monarch was broken and turned into 10,000 demons, blood demons, wind demons and heart demons. The second true monarch was suppressed in the original universe, and now he is about to leave. The third true monarch, the ancient monarch in purgatory, is now devouring the powerhouse of the robbery in purgatory. Extinction looking for these people. I am afraid that the request is great. Jian Wushuang was a little anxious in his heart. He was stared at by such a big man. What else would he do in the future? You don't have to worry, the sky is falling, and I am holding it. The true spirit soothed, and then said, "Now you have to hurry up and work together. The 4 secret realms are temporarily safe, and there are no accidents. You can rest assured about this." Yes. Jian Wushuang heard the assurance of the true spirit, but he couldn't believe it completely. That was what he said last time. But he still fell into the hands of the Frosa. Zhenling glanced at Jian Wushuang again, and now he had some guesses in his heart. The original prediction of the starry sky mighty person was likely to be extinction, not the inheritor at all. Extinction masters the power of death. And if you want to reach the top, I am afraid it will really destroy a long river of time and space. But why in the prediction, Daixing is a person from the temple of Qishan? This makes Zhenling a little ignorant. Now that the other party had taken away the mountain monarch, 10,000 demons and blood demons, he had a vague answer in his heart. It may not be long before this answer will not be vague. In the past, the death of life was suppressed by the gods, so he dared not to cross the 7th calamity, And now the two of them are likely to have some kind of agreement. Those devouring avenues that he hated were high hopes. At the end of his life, he actually became a pawn. The true spirit is not stupid. He understands everything with a slight calculation. At that time, the Qixin and Miexing reached a certain agreement. The devouring Tao was not abandoned because of the eighth calamity. At the beginning, the Qixin did not have the strength to go through the eighth calamity, but he was not willing to become a strong saber robbery. After that, let the devouring avenue break away and prepare for the back road. Leaving the temple of Qixin also made two-handed preparations, with one hand preparing the inheritors to rebuild the temple of Qixin, and with the other hand ordering them not to kill the devourers that were transformed by the devouring avenue, as a means of recovery. The more I thought about it, the more annoying. Zhenling almost punched his chest. He is opposed to the deity's practice, because the memory and consciousness left by the deity are all positive. At that time, the Qixin crossing tribulation did not succeed, not because of strength at all, but to protect Moruo's time and space. The reason for leaving the Qixin temple was to cultivate the inheritors, not for the sake of surviving. From decency, instantly transform into villain. No matter how thick Zenling's face is, he blushes a little at this time. There was no face to meet those inheritors. If that's the case, let's just bulk cargo. Seeing that Zhenling's face was wrong, Jian Wushuang was also very nervous and cautiously said, "My lord." Hearing Jian Wushuang shouting to himself, the true spirit pretended to be calm, leaked a smile and replied, "Okay, there are some things that you don't know too early. I have already driven the extinction out. You must practice hard." After speaking, it was like leaving directly, but was stopped by Jian Wushuang. Taking out the portrait that Huiqing had turned into, Jian Wushuang pleaded, "My lord, Huiqing is loyal to the temple of Qixin. He doesn't know anything about Jiangshang, and asks the Lord to save him." He made Huiqing like this, but he didn't know the way to save him, so he could only ask the true spirit to do it himself. "Leave it to me, I won't pursue it." Zhenling was also very generous. Compared with the threat of extinction, Jiangshang's threat was far worse. And now that Jiangshang has been taken away by Miexing, there is almost no threat to him after leaving the temple of Qixin, and there is no need to bother about it. As Huiqing is currently ranked among the top 3 inheritors of the temple of Qixin, it is naturally impossible to give up. Even if Jian Wushuang didn't speak, he would help Huiqing recover. It's just that he had a lot of thoughts just now, and he didn't think of it. "Thank you, sir." Jian Wushuang bowed slightly towards the true spirit who had left. After sending away the true spirit, he and Mo Luo didn't have the need to stay here, and they were ready to leave the human realm for the realm immediately. Then from the earth to the heavens, go to the Mahayana Lingshan, to solve the cause and effect, and then go to ask for the candle dragon's heart, and it is almost complete. As for the 6th level of mental strength, it can't be met, and he didn't think about breaking through. The realm of space has now mastered 99% of the black hole, only a little bit away. If there is a chance, it will break through, and if there is no chance, it will be first to unite. Because this does not affect the process of his harmony. As long as the origins of Sword Dao and Ji Dao are consummated, it is enough anyway. His spatial realm is already in the dust of Dao Jun, and there is no need to reach the black hole realm. Hadao, to put it simpler, is to integrate Kendo and Ji Dao into the origin of space. Once it succeeds, the origin of space will skyrocket. The ordinary Taoist may have just touched the threshold of the origin of the space before he joined the Dao, and the space origin of the successful He Dao has skyrocketed, directly reaching the middle and even later stages of the star realm. That is, the second-order emperor to the third-order emperor. Among the inheritors, the Taoist monarchs who are more against the sky, they are in the star realm before they join the Tao, and they reach the consummation in the star realm directly after they join the Tao. After becoming an emperor, he has more mature use of the origin of space, and he can practice faster. And only those who can directly become a fourth-order emperor have the power to cultivate to the fifth-order emperor in a short time. It all depends on how powerful your Tao is. There are already a lot of things contained in the second-rank origin Tao, under the premise of practicing space in advance. After combining Tao, you can become a third-order emperor and quickly enter a fourth-order emperor. Wan Dao Lu is a cultivation way of all things. It is obviously not realistic to cultivate all the ways to consummation. Jian Wushuang is too big to think about it. If you really want to cultivate all the ways of Wan Dao to consummation, it can already be comparable to his extreme way. But the Great Way can leap to master the power of life, and Wan Dao Lu can master the power of all things when you are fully cultivated. Chapter 5587. In general, the ultimate power of Wan Dao Lu can master the power of all things when he is at the extreme peak and raise the space to the realm of the universe. Therefore, if you want to master the power of all things in the Taoist monarch, in addition to the extreme way, you are practicing Wan Dao Lu, cultivating all the ways to reach consummation, and then mastering the universe and space can master the power of all things. But at that level, mastering the power of all things is already a bit tasteless. The Tao sovereign who has mastered the universe is unprecedented, and he can directly beat the strongest, and it is useless to require the power of all things. Because the power of all things mastered by the Taoist is ultimately limited, not as strong as the emperor's master. This conjecture is valid, but I am afraid there is nothing that can be done. Since he understood the meaning of Hadao, Jian Wushuang has also thought about what would happen if he mastered 2, or even 3 ultimate ways. In fact, it doesn't matter if you think about it, not to mention whether you can realize so many ultimate ways. Even if you really realize it, it will be difficult for you to succeed in harmony. The reason why Wan Dao Lu can be spread, and even pursued by many practitioners, is that it has the exploration of predecessors, and can be successful. Not to mention the completeness of all, as long as several second-rank origins are concurrently studied, and some common origins can be realized. As long as the harmony is successful, the realm of space can skyrocket. Space contains 10,000 ways, and 10,000 ways feed back to space. Jian Wushuang's own extreme way is a more perfect Wan Dao Lu. Ji Dao has perfected the 10,000 Dao, but in the end, only Kendo is the ultimate Dao. This also highlights his Kendo dominance even more. The power of that sword exceeded his imagination, but it met his expectations. That's how it should be, with Ji Dao as a supplement and Kendo as the main one, striking the universe, and even all the time and space. At this time, he was in a good mood, singing all the way straight to the temple where the human world was. After the two of them left, the absolute tops of the human world gathered together again, and began to study the space that was crushed by his sword into a painting. A square black void. The entire 9 floors of the space have been cut away. Only the general pitch-black void in the space turbulence is left. Everything has become nothingness. The few superpowers who watched swallowed their saliva, and turned to look at the great human world. Everyone, we have to keep a low profile lately. I am afraid that our human realm will have a catastrophe. The great senior human realm's face sank, and he left after leaving a warning. The future of the human world is indeed a catastrophe, and it is a catastrophe left by Jian Wushuang himself. The young man named Xanjiu grew up to be a disaster for the human world. The headquarters of the human world temple, Jian Wushuang and Mo Luo arrived with fanfare without any concealment. At this point, Jian Wushuang's breath now is also the 6th-tier pinnacle, and he has a unique skill that can cut the peak with a sword, and the demeanor of a strong man is at a glance. Mo Luo straightened up behind him, and respectfully said, "Young Master's combat power is probably one of the best among the inheritors now, and if it is in harmony, it will be unmatched." "Thanks, Tusk, isn't this not yet successful in harmony?" Jian Wushuang replied with a smile. He is indeed very confident now. As soon as Mieshing appeared, he left, although he didn't know why, he left anyway. No matter how big the threat is, the real spirit should have a headache in the future. It has nothing to do with him. If he is time now, as long as the time is delayed, he will be stronger. Whenever the enemy is in front of him, it will be only an enemy of a sword. Haha, this time I was also exposed to the light of the young master. Normally, when I take this cross-border teleportation formation, I am troubled by the temple in every way. I want to come this time, and he will get. Mo Luo hasn't finished speaking yet. A team of emperors under the temple had already arrived in front of them. Seeing Jian Wushuang's unfamiliar faces with such a big fanfare, I was a little surprised. In the Tomb Mountain, there are direct inheritors, and it is impossible to appear in the human world. Unless you return to the Tomb Mountain, you will pass this place. But if you return, you won't come here from the secret realm of the human world, but will be passed on directly, and will only stay for a while. Feeling that Mo Luo's origin was incomplete, the Sixth Order Emperor, who took the lead, sneered. This is the temple, who allowed you to fly. Jian Wushuang was stunned for a moment. These people didn't even know him. He just got off the wanted order. It's too dull. What are you looking at? Not convinced. The Sixth Order Emperor sank, staring at Jian Wushuang. He could feel a powerful aura from Jian Wushuang. That aura was extremely daunting, only the Sixth Order peak. This kind of strength, although it is in a barren land like the human world, is not enough. Those who serve in the temple have long been used to being arrogant. Although they are also native emperors, they even look down on the native emperors like themselves. Mo Luo couldn't help it a bit, but the fear that the temple brought him was deeply rooted, and he really didn't dare to do it, even if he was already in a group now. Blind your dog's eyes, see who I am. Jian Wushuang's eyes leaked a cold color. A violent breath rose instantly, and Yu Yu's shivering temple trembled. Although the human world is barren, this place is connected to the tomb of the gods. There must be a strong man in the White Tiger Palace sitting here. There should be more than one Sixth Order Emperor, as simple as that. The violent aura directly shook the Sixth Order Emperor, and several Fifth Order Emperors, thousands of miles away. Fortunately, they all wore the trial armor equipped with the temple. They were high eternal treasures, and they were not injured. However, the divine body has been somewhat broken, and its strength is declining. How dare you do it? The Sixth Order Emperor laughed furiously. He has been in the human world for many years. One who is not afraid of death. The token of the highest order was directly crushed at the moment to inform the situation of the human world. Jian Wushuang wanted to laugh, and the other party probably didn't know him. If you knew it was him, wouldn't you be so mindless to trouble him? He even suspected that the other party was really blind, so he could not see that he was the inheritor of the complete origin, so that he turned his head to look at Mo Luo, pointed to his face that didn't lose to Panin, and said from the bottom of his heart, "Am I a special one?" Mo Luo was stunned for a moment. Then when he wanted to say something, he was stunned. In the temple at this time, the strong are all out, and there is also a super strong. However, the strength is average. It is estimated that they are not the opponent of Mo Luo. It was not these powerful men that Mo Luo was surprised, but Jian Wushuang that he saw. In the past, when I saw Jian Wushuang, I could tell at a glance that it was the complete source. Even if Jian Wushuang is now stronger and can conceal his aura, when the two of them first arrived, they did not conceal anything with fanfare. And Jian Wushuang just broke out aura. Can't the other party discover that Jian Wushuang is the inheritor? Chapter 5588. Is it really blind? Even if one is blind, there are so many Fifth Order Emperors. Isn't there a normal person? Only then did he understand that, for a moment, he didn't notice Jian Wushuang's change. Mo Luo stared at Jian Wushuang in his eyes. Except for the fact that there was no change in his body, his breath and origin were returning. It was a rewinding of time, and he could see that it was because the realm was higher than those people. It is estimated that those Sixth Order Emperors and Fifth Order Emperors can only see Jian Wushuang for a short period of time, so they can't see anything. After Mo Luo found out, he quickly told Jian Wushuang about it. It was a big deal, and even Jian Wushuang hadn't noticed his changes. What? Jian Wushuang did not pay attention to the temple powerhouses who came around. but stared at Emoluo with a huge change of expression, and then blew it out in one breath, turning into a law body, staring at himself for a circle. This made those temple powerhouses very surprised. The two who suddenly rushed in, a superb, a sixth-order emperor, were still strange faces. Which one of the most powerful people can tell that he is an aboriginal emperor? But Jian Wushuang is a bit incomprehensible, strong and weak at the time. Even if it is a burst of breath, he did not feel the aura of the origin. There is only the violent power, that is the power erupted by the divine body. The 50,000 times divine body can clearly feel that these people regard Jian Wushuang as special beings. Some special beings have inherited memories, and some relatively rare genres. They are not surprised. But Jian Wushuang himself had a big head. He was very surprised how his origin suddenly became like this. He obviously didn't feel anything, but he automatically changed. Time. Only this is possible. Jian Wushuang then dissipated from the law bodies. This question would have to wait for him to find Wu Zua in the heavens, or the demon god general to ask those big figures who had met the world. Fortunately, there is no harm, but time has interfered with others' viewing of his origin. This can also explain why the people in the temple can't recognize him. The original wanted was not a portrait, but a breath. The body can be changed at will, and the portrait is useless. Even the mundane assassins will be able to disguise, let alone Jian Wushuang, who has a perfect body, and can transform into a Dharmakaya with a single hair in one breath. So these people did not recognize him. But this time all were dispatched, some of the emperors who were guarded from the heavens, and many of them knew his appearance, and recognized them at once. Jian Wushuang. Yes, it is Jian Wushuang. An edge fourth-order emperor directly shouted out. Jian Wushuang let out a sigh of relief when someone recognized him. Otherwise he would have to fight with these people. What he didn't expect was that these people became even more excited when they knew his identity. Jian Wushuang, I didn't expect you to dare to show your head. Don't you know that the 4 secret realms are looking for you now? Stay here today. The leader who took the lead sneered, and then a token appeared in his hand, flashing above it. With red light, a majestic force broke out in an instant, and the sword's double-sided color changed drastically, and he quickly pulled Emoluo back, and at the same time shouted angrily, "You idiots!" The temple array was completely opened, and there was no way to retreat. This formation is to suppress those terrifying special lives from the tomb of the gods, and its power is extremely terrifying. He never expected that he would not fall into the hands of others, and finally fall into his own hands. It's simply unlucky to get home. At the moment before the formation was opened, Yin Yin universe broke out first. This kind of formation is okay with the heavy and special beings of the opponent, and in front of him, it is still not enough. One thought of the universe. Jian Wushuang's speed did not become faster, but those people's speed became slower because of the true meaning of time. He has not yet received the recognition of the origin of time. He has just pondered the true meaning of time slightly. If he has the origin of time, he can pause this space with a single thought. This is the power of the robbery realm, and dealing with those emperors is simply a massacre. I really don't know how the great Emperor Julian did it so against the sky. Now he can only delay time, but it's enough. In his own universe, he teleports directly, and when he reaches the top, he snatches the token in the other's surprised eyes. Click. The token manipulating the formation was directly crushed by him, and the other hand was not idle. The backhand was a slap, and the extremely strong man abruptly slammed into the ground from the sky, and lifted up huge dust. Seal them all, don't keep any of them. Jian Wushuang carried his hands on his back, and directly let Emoluo do it. The reason why it was able to go so smoothly was that the absolute top was too careless, and his strength was not very good. But he was not so easy to succeed with any strong absolute power. After Emoluo received the order, the corners of his mouth raised and beat the emperor of the temple, which was a very wonderful thing. He has long been uncomfortable with these two dogs, who will only show off in front of the indigenous emperors. Treats the inheritors only in promises, and treats the indigenous emperors one by one arrogant. Now they violently beaten them one by one, and then through the one-handed seal below. When the supremely strong man wanted to make a move, he found that his strength had dropped suddenly in Yin universe. He was not Luo's opponent at all, and his strength was sealed within a few seconds. He unwillingly shouted angrily, "Jian Wushuang, you are provoking the temple. The Lord will not let you go. You will wait for me." Jian Wushuang played with the discord board on his thumb. When he turned his head, he stared at that Zhu Dian with stern eyes. His figure slowly descended, and he walked towards the teleportation formation and said calmly, "I'm waiting for you. There are not many strong people here, and Luo will solve them all in 3 or 2. If you don't kill these people, you still give Bai Yi's face." Based on the offense just now, he even killed Bai Yi and didn't dare to do anything with him. Want to move him? Jian Wushuang now is not the former Taoist who was free to handle. Moreover, he is still leaning against the Senate Palace. If the White Tiger Palace dares to make a move, the Senate Palace will stop him. He had already told Wuxia what was happening here, and let the other party prepare to meet him in the realm. Last time the two met in a hurry, many important things were not said. For example, some promised benefits. The origin of everything should also be in his hands. This time, he has made great achievements, and I am afraid he can call the wind and rain in the 4 secret realms. He didn't worry about going to the Tomb Mountain. After entering the big formation, he randomly threw a huge cosmic crystal and directly activated the formation. Luo looked at his eyes hot. 4 cross-border teleportation. All that is needed every time is the crystal, and the price to be paid is extremely high. Generally, several people are teleported together. There are very few rich and powerful like Jian Wushuang. Chapter 5589. At the beginning, Tyson had only accumulated 30,000 cosmic crystals, after sitting in Fushaotang for so many years, not to mention the native monarchs like Luo. It is estimated that 5,000 cosmic crystals of all the belongings are not bad. That's why I was so surprised. What is this thing? Jian Wushuang shook his head. He had a whole source of everything at his fingertips. This time when he returned to the Senate Palace, he had the lion open his mouth, asking for more treasures. Most of the treasures accumulated at the time were used to restore Fuego. There is no way to survive, I can only do it desperately. Fortunately, they were sent away. And also got a token of the giant gods. With this token, it is also useful to roam in other time and space in the future. If you really meet the giants of the giant gods, there might be a chance, which is much more useful than those treasures. This is the pattern. Don't be reluctant. How can you be rewarded if reluctant? The teleportation array was triggered, and the light and shadow in front of him changed. What he saw in the past was colored, but now he has the true meaning of time. But he can see that the teleportation still has the origin of time. Cross-boundary teleportation is too far away, and it will take 10,000 years for a light to reach another world. But it can be teleported in an instant. This is a shortening of time, and pure space movement is not so fast. The speed of the two of them in the human world by flying alone is no longer slow. For hundreds of years, the opportunity traverses the human world. But if you want to fly to the land boundary, not to mention whether there is a passage, even if there is a passage, I am afraid it will take hundreds of millions of years. All the spaces in the Qishan Temple are superimposed, which is larger than the universe. The 4 secret realms seem to be together, but in fact, they are very far away from one universe. In the teleportation formation, it was an instant. Land boundary. At this time, in the Temple of Earth realm, there were 6 extremely strong people. Among them there was a white body of law, and the strength was not weak enough to be comparable to that of the divine envoy. There are also 4 outstanding emperors who are indigenous emperors, who are the outstanding powers of the first family of the earth. There is another acquaintance of Jian Wushuang, Wuxia. Jian Wushuang and Luo appeared in the teleportation hall. Several Zhu Dian surrounded him in an instant, which made Luo very nervous, especially when he saw Palace Master Bai Yi. A huge sense of threat made him a little breathless. Wuxia is okay. He has been suppressing his breath. Brother Wushuang. Wuxia stepped forward, leaking a smile. Jian Wushuang clasped his fists lightly and said, "Trouble." Then he looked at the Lord Bai and smiled lightly. "Ha, Lord Bai, this time I am offended. Naturally speaking, it is a matter of the human world. And to say so, it is only a sack of face. This matter is to blame. When I got the news from Lord True Spirit, I didn't disperse it in time, which caused those idiots to offend Brother Wushuang." Wuxia next to him took the opportunity to sneer and sarcastically said, "Ha, Master True Spirit passed the news to the Yuan Lao Palace hundreds of years ago. You have dragged such a big thing to the present. Brother Wushuang is the biggest contributor to the 4 secret realms. Just treat it like this, and don't be afraid of chilling everyone's hearts." The last sentence was correct. He sent the gods away, but really helped the White Tiger Palace. Now the battle situation in the realm has been slowly declining, and there are very few resistances. This is all Jian Wushuang's credit, and if the gods are still there, the aboriginal emperors might still resist. It's almost done. Dogs don't go to places like the human world, and it's normal for some news to be blocked. Bai glared at Wuxia. Jian Wushuang also hurriedly came out to make a round, and said, "Well, you too. I'm going to be the host today. Let's have a good drink. It's been a long time since I haven't been free, so it's just to celebrate for myself." After hearing his words, the two of them gave up. Since Jian Wushuang appeared, he had intentionally or unintentionally leaked his breath. When outsiders looked at him, it was time to rewind, which seemed very mysterious. Now even Wuxia and Bai can't see through him. The pure appearance of the breath is the 6th order pinnacle, and suddenly it is a little unclear how strong Jian Wushuang is now. The group of people directly entered the largest city in the realm. In the magnificent hall, Jian Wushuang sat in the main seat, with Bai and Wuxia on both sides. Both of them are the top bosses of the 4 secret realms. Bai is even the actual power holder of the 4 secret realms, and it is Bai that the natives fear the most. Now Jian Wushuang not only sits on an equal footing with the opponent, but can also sit high in the main position. This kind of identity is somewhat beyond the object. However, Jian Wushuang now does have this confidence. Whether it is meritorious service or strength, he has already touched the peak of Qishan Temple. Eliminating the Frosa, this is the first-class merit. It is not too much to let Bai knock him in public, let alone Wuxia. This plan was originally proposed by Wuxia. Although Wuxia did not achieve any benefits in the end, he was already very happy that Jian Wushuang could return safely. Otherwise, he would have to take the main responsibility. In the hall, there are 1/3 of the superpowers of the earth. You reading www.akanshu. The weakest in Kham are the 5th order emperors, and all of them have more than 10. After the all parties touted it, it was a polite way. Jian Wushuang was able to let go this time, but privately he kept communicating with Wuxia. The iron sword thing, as soon as possible. He killed the other's younger brother. Naturally, this matter must be handled properly. You can't kill his younger brother, so let him be slaughtered again. So let Wuxia be an intermediary, and let the matter go. Naturally there is no problem. There must be sacrifices. The key is how many times he has sacrificed himself, the life of a 6th order emperor, changing the 4 great secret realms to a stable. This is a very worthwhile business. Wuxia also nodded and said, "Master True Spirit has issued a dispatch order. The Iron Sword will go to the long river of time and space outside the primitive universe to guard it, and is responsible for transporting the elites plundered from the major universes. It is also a fat man. This is considered to be sent away. Without the real spirit's order, the long-wind sword god does not even have the qualifications to return to the Temple of Qi. As for the benefits, I am afraid there are not many." Changfeng sword god's original strength was average and absolute peak, and it was not even as strong as the absolute strong among the aboriginals. It was a good thing to go to the long river of time and space. After a while, the strength of the inheritor completely exploded, and the position of his palace lord could not be kept. It's better to go to the long river of time and space to be a time and space overlord and enjoy yourself. Now the time and space Longhaju is very rare. There are only a few, and they have all been defeated one by Shang. Their strength is average. After all, there is no guidance. Although the spatial realm is high, the foundation is unstable. This kind of emptiness is so lazy to recruit. It is better to let some of the more powerful fifth-order emperors enter the Temple of Qixin. Of course, the emperors of the primordial universe were also stunned, and most of them had planned an errand in the Temple of Qixin, and now they are also enjoying themselves. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Wuxia Whispers YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.